Everyone thinks that Omni-Man versus Metro Man would be an epic battle between two superpowered alien titans, but it's not even close, and I'm going to break down every reason why this fight ends before it even begins. Starting with where they come from, because origins shape everything. Omni-Man, otherwise known as Nolan Grayson, is not the savior that Earth believed him to be. He's Earth's conqueror. Coming from the warlike alien race known as the Viltrumites, Omni-Man is a member of a species of hyper-advanced aliens bred for war and galactic conquest. From birth, he was trained to kill, to dominate, to conquer. The Viltrumites are evolution's cruelest experiment, genetically engineered over centuries through blood-soaked survival of the fittest. Only the strongest were allowed to live. Mercy was a weakness, compassion a liability. Omni-Man is a reflection of that ideology, ruthlessly efficient, incredibly powerful, and utterly loyal. He was sent to Earth under the disguise of a superhero.
We run teams of superheroes to protect our planet from whatever dangers might arise. You don't look like you're from around here.
In reality, he was an agent of conquest, tasked with weakening Earth's defenses so the Viltrum Empire could bring Earth under its rule. He only saw his mission and his loyalties while maintaining the life of a double agent, at least until internal conflict and his relationship with his human family began to fracture that loyalty.
No, I don't trust you. Not anymore. You broke that.
Let's be clear, Omni-Man is not just strong, he's a planetary-level threat who has wiped civilizations from existence. He's torn through cities like paper, slaughtered entire superhero teams that include speedsters, mages, and immortals in minutes, and flown enough to take nuclear-level hits without flinching, and fast enough to blitz supersonic jets mid-flight. In another instance from the comic, Invincible, Thetis, and Omni-Man flew through the core of the planet Viltrum, withstanding its heat and destroying it completely. But more importantly, he's ruthless. We've seen him decimate entire armies and beat his own son nearly to death without hesitation.
Don't do this! It's not too late!
Yes, it is.
He doesn't stop. He doesn't pull punches. There are no limits or rules. He's not even here to save anyone. He's here to win. He single-handedly turned Earth's greatest heroes, the Guardians of the Globe, into red stains on the wall. Not in a fair fight, not in a desperate battle, but in a premeditated massacre. Why? Because they were in the way. Omni-Man isn't a protector, he's a dominator. And when his own son Invincible tried to stop him, Nolan gave him a lecture about why he is wrong while literally beating his face into the side of a mountain. He's not a villain in the traditional sense. He's a true believer of genetic supremacy. He doesn't want your surrender, he expects it. And if you don't give it, he takes it.
I know.
Metro Man, to most people, is a parody, a Superman stand-in, a punchline. He's a mysterious alien raised on Earth after crash landing there as a baby. But that's only because they weren't paying attention. Behind the Chad appearance, the silver microphone, and the flowing cape, Metro Man is something much more terrifying.
And I love you, random citizen.
Because parody doesn't mean powerless. Born with super speed, super strength, flight, laser vision, invulnerability, and the ability to hear across the planet, Metro Man was functionally omnipotent in his world. But most important, he's faster than time itself. He seems like a smiling, soft-spoken superhero from a comedy movie. But don't let that fool you, because when you break it, Metro Man doesn't just win. He erases the idea of a fight. Metro Man was born a god. Raised as a child prodigy, worshipped as a protector, he never had to grow into his powers. They were always there. He has super hearing so great that he can hear the cries of ants miles away. He didn't train to be powerful, he simply was. But here's where it gets scary. Metro Man is fast enough to move while time appears to stand still. He doesn't dodge lasers, he moves after they've been fired and still gets out of the way. In one scene, the most important scene, he pretends to die. The world believes he was vaporized. But in reality, Metro Man moves so fast he faked his own death by stepping out of existence. He didn't just outrun an explosion, he outran expectation itself. Metro Man is so fast that time becomes a suggestion.
Even he could survive that. Well, let's not get our hopes up just yet.
And this brings us to the core difference between them. Omni-Man fights because it's his duty. Metro Man doesn't fight because he no longer has to. That's not cowardice, that's self-awareness born out of wisdom. Omni-Man is a warrior, an apex predator honed in blood and sharpened by genocide. But Metro Man? He's past the point of needing to prove anything. He doesn't fight for dominance, he's not trying to test his strength, he already knows the result. Let's talk about power, because this isn't even a fair category. Omni-Man tore through the Guardians of the Globe like paper. He flew through a moving subway train while holding Mark in front of it, which is a feat of brutality, not just strength. Omni-Man has punched people through buildings, cities, mountains, continents. He's withstood orbital drops and taken on armies alone. He fought his son across the entire planet, tearing apart civilizations in their wake.
Why?
In another instance, when Omni-Man returned to the Flaxlands planet after their repeated invasions of Earth, he didn't come as a soldier, he came as an extinction. What followed wasn't a battle, it was an execution. He tore through their capital like a force of nature, ripping apart armies, incinerating fleets, and crushing civilization as if they were paper sculptures. Buildings fell, skies burned, the Flaxlands, once bold conquerors, ran like insects before a boot. And Omni-Man didn't stop. He hunted them across their own cities, across their skies, across their world, systematically, ruthlessly, deliberately, until nothing remained. Not a rebellion, not a resistance, just silence. One man, one mission, one message. Earth wasn't theirs to conquer.
You don't seem to understand. Earth isn't yours to conquer.
So, okay, what about Metro Man? He leaned on a building and it collapsed. He caught Megamind's ship mid-air and stopped it dead. The scale of destruction is cartoonish, but that's the point. His power obeys Looney Tunes logic with Superman-level seriousness. He's not limited by biology, physics, or pain. He exists in a world where the rules bend around him. That makes him unpredictable. It makes him unbeatable. Metro Man's heat vision is no joke either, and we can see this when Titan receives his powers. Titan, formerly known as Hal Stewart, is what happens when limitless power meets zero responsibility. After accidentally receiving Metro Man's powers, Hal gains everything that Metro Man had, essentially becoming a god overnight. But unlike Metro Man, Titan lacks discipline, morality, and mental stability. His strength is raw and unfocused. He can throw cars like baseballs, level buildings with casual punches, and take missiles without flinching. But it's not his powers that made him dangerous, it was his ego. Driven by rejection and resentment, Titan uses his abilities not to protect, but to dominate. He's not a hero. He's not even a villain with purpose. He's a tantrum wrapped in superpowers, a chaotic force that burns brighter the more he's ignored. And that makes him unpredictable and deadly.
You know what's good for you, Titan. You'll stay out of Metrocity.
You got it.
For good.
We see him destroy the entire city with his heat vision in seconds, crash through buildings like they're made of paper, and routinely throw Roxanne around to prove that he can save her. His powers are a testimony to how much Metro Man can do. Just because we didn't see it in full swing doesn't mean that it's not there. They're both hyper strong, but that's not the defining feature. Because where Metro Man's real strength lies is in his speed. While yes, Omni-Man has moved so fast that he circled the planet in seconds, catching jets mid-flight like they were standing still, tearing through cityscapes before alarms even finish ringing. During his brutal rampage across Earth, he covered miles in the blink of an eye, obliterating structures, enemies, and entire resistance squads before they could react. When he wants you dead, there's no warning, just a sonic boom and the aftermath. His speed isn't just about travel, it's a weapon, a blunt force multiplier that makes his attacks feel instantaneous. And worse, he knows it. But while he is fast, he isn't time-stopping fast. But Metro Man, he didn't just fly fast, he froze time from his perspective. When Megamind fired a death ray at him, we watched the world go still, and Metro Man wrote music, reflected on his entire life, left the planet, and faked his death all before the beam hit. That's not speed, that's faster than even Cecil's teleportation by miles. Metro Man yawned that missile. Megamind's Death Ray, a weapon that contains the power of the sun and powerful enough to incinerate anything it touched, and he didn't even flinch. But again, the key is not his strength, it's the speed. Because if you're faster than light, if you perceive time as irrelevant, strength becomes besides the point. And Omni-Man, his greatest strength is his aggression. But against someone who sees aggression in slow motion, that aggression becomes predictable, laughable, futile. If this were a speed contest, Omni-Man wouldn't even see the punch coming before he's vaporized. Metro Man could literally think circles around him before Omni-Man finishes blinking. He can see the punch coming, the reaction to it, the consequences, all before it happens.
Using my super speed, I decided to go clear my head.
Speed is the cheat code, and Metro Man isn't fast. He's unfathomably fast. Time freeze levels of fast. Hyper perception fast. Run around the globe twice while deciding what sandwich to eat fast. Omni-Man would become nothing but a blur, and Metro Man would be gone before the blur even registers. But let's pretend, just for the sake of argument, that speed and power are equal, that Metro Man stands his ground. Then you get into intent. Omni-Man is built for brutality. He doesn't hold back. He won't hesitate to maim, cripple, or kill. He's strategic, calculated. He will absolutely kill you if you're in his way. And he's not above using psychological warfare to break you down. But at the end of the day, Omni-Man fights like a man with limits. He bleeds, he tires, he needs oxygen. He survives by being smarter and stronger. Even while fighting Red Rush, he took many hits. But Metro Man doesn't just beat his opponents. He outpaces them, outsmarts them. He doesn't need to kill you. He just makes you irrelevant. Metro Man doesn't fight. Why? Because he realized something deeper. He was too powerful. He never had to prove himself. He got bored, and that's the scariest part. He wasn't beaten, captured, or broken. He simply chose to walk away. He didn't lose. He transcended the need to fight. Omni-Man is a predator with no conscience, but Metro Man has all the power and still chooses peace. That's not weakness. That's discipline. Omni-Man is dangerous because of his brutality. Metro Man is terrifying because he doesn't even need violence. Because if Metro Man wanted to end a fight, he would. He canonically has never taken any damage. And that's the final nail in this debate. Metro Man left the superhero game not because he couldn't handle it, but because he'd already won. While Omni-Man was busy conquering planets, Metro Man figured out how to go above the game. He saw the endless cycle of violence, destruction, and death and said, I'm done. But that doesn't mean he can't fight. It means he doesn't need to. So let's imagine it. A desolate alien moon. No gravity, no civilians, no tricks, no speeches or distractions. Just Omni-Man and Metro Man, two titans face to face. Omni-Man doesn't wait. He flies forward at sonic speeds, teeth bared, 1,000 years of violence in his wake. His fist is already swinging, throwing a punch that has shattered skulls and ended battles in seconds. And it hits nothing, because Metro Man is already behind him. Time freezes, Omni-Man's punch is still winding up, and Metro Man has already circled the battlefield, calculated every angle, and analyzed every weak point. He taps Omni-Man on the shoulder. Before Nolan can turn, Metro Man is across the battlefield, arms folded, waiting. Maybe even humming a tune. He doesn't hit back. Omni-Man tries again. Collapsing mountains, shockwaves. But Metro Man is everywhere at once, because he's not just fast, he's untouchable. He lets Omni-Man hit him once, just once, it doesn't leave a mark. Metro Man sighs, then blinks, and Omni-Man is knocked unconscious before he even realizes what happened. Though it might not be a one-shot fight, time will easily show that Metro Man is superior. There is no battle, just inevitability. Because this isn't war, and it isn't just a mismatch either. It's a category error. It's like comparing a tank to the concept of light. Omni-Man is terrifying because he's the top of the Viltrumite food chain. Metro Man is terrifying because he's beyond the concept of combat. He never fights. Not because he can't, but because he already knows how it would end. So, who wins in Omni-Man versus Metro Man? Metro Man. Every time, every timeline, every version. Whether he fights or doesn't. Because either way, he's already faster than Omni-Man's next move. Everyone thinks Superman vs. Omni-Man would be an insane battle, but it's not even close. And I'll be breaking down every brutal reason why, starting with where they come from, because origins shape everything. Superman was born as Kal-El on the distant planet Krypton to scientists Jor-El and Lara. As Krypton faced imminent destruction due to a natural planetary catastrophe, its core becoming unstable, Jor-El built a small spacecraft to save his infant son. Moments before Krypton exploded, Kal-El was placed in the craft and sent to He crash-landed near Smallville, Kansas, where he was found and adopted by a kind farming couple, Jonathan and Martha Kent. They named him Clark Kent and raised him as their own. As Clark grew up, he developed extraordinary powers due to Earth's yellow sun and weaker gravity, including super strength, flight, heat vision, X-ray vision, super speed, and invulnerability. His parents instilled in him strong moral values, teaching him to use his powers for good. Upon reaching adulthood, Clark moved to Metropolis, where he became a journalist for the Daily Planet and adopted the superhero identity Superman, a symbol of hope and justice. He's not just a product of alien biology, he's the ultimate embodiment of nurture over nature. His connection to humanity is what defines him. He chooses to protect, to guide, to lead by example. Omni-Man is a Viltrumite, a member of a powerful alien race from the planet Viltrum. The Viltrumites are a superhuman species characterized by their immense strength, speed, flight, near invulnerability, and long lifespans. Their society is built around a brutal ideology of conquest and survival of the fittest. Initially, the Viltrumite Empire sought to expand its reach by violently conquering other planets. To streamline this, they later began sending lone Viltrumites to infiltrate and weaken worlds from within in preparation for eventual conquest. Nolan was sent to Earth under the false pretense of being a benevolent protector.
We don't know who this is, or if they're friendly or not.
You don't look like you're from around here.
My government sent me here to help protect.
On Earth, he assumed the identity Omni-Man and became a superhero, even marrying a human woman, Debbie Grayson, and fathering a son, Mark Grayson, who would later become Invincible. While he genuinely developed some attachment to Earth and his family, his true mission was always to prepare Earth for Viltrumite rule. This hidden agenda leads to a dramatic and violent revelation, particularly when Mark comes of age and develops power of his own. That ideological contrast is the core difference. Superman is the protector of Earth in every aspect. He is meant to embody ideals of hope, peace, and justice, while Omni-Man represents conquest and the expansion of an empire, hiding his dark secret until the right moment. But this isn't their only big difference. Superman is so far beyond strength that it's sometimes hard to measure without context. For instance, a more abstract feat would be when he enters the metaphysical realm to confront destiny itself. The Book of Destiny is said to contain every possible outcome in the universe. Its pages are described as infinite, and each page has infinite weight. Superman, through sheer will and strength, manages to turn a page. A more definite and recognizable feat of strength would be when he physically moved Earth out of the path of a rogue planet, something that would require literally quintillions of tons of force. These aren't just flukes of freakish strength either. No Superman is able to keep those feats going consistently, like when he endured the intense gravitational stress test near the sun, lifting Earth mass simulators for 5 days straight. Most impressively is the time he contained a black hole with his bare hands, showing that his strength isn't just limited to lifting heavy things. Omni-Man's feats of strength are far more quantifiable, contained within a level of realism. He took on the Guardians of the Globe, brutally killing what equates to a discount Justice League all on his own. While fighting with Mark, he smashes him through a skyscraper, a mountain, and across a multi-mile distance. The destruction caused by their fight levels entire blocks of a city, killing thousands within seconds. Also, he has killed other Viltrumites, all superhuman level threats, battling several on Throxa and 2 more on the prison ship. His greatest singular feat of strength comes from the comics. During the Viltrumite War arc, Omni-Man, Mark, and Thetis follow a bolt fired from Space Racer through the planet Viltrum, destroying it in spectacular fashion. While not a feat that is solely his own, it is incredibly impressive that he is able to destroy a planet completely, but their strength would be nothing without their speed. In battle, Superman is able to analyze situations, make decisions, and respond in the span of microseconds or less. Starting low on the list of feats, he once caught a bullet after it had been fired, saving the person it was flying towards. Ramping up quickly, he reacted to dozens of high-speed satellite weapons falling towards Earth, disabling them almost simultaneously across continents, covering continents in seconds. He can move through space at frankly ridiculous speeds too, going from Earth to the Vega system 25 light years away in what happens to be minutes, reacting to a distress signal. But in other instances, he's crossed the whole universe in seconds to respond to a cosmic threat. He has also raced the Flash himself on more than a few occasions, sometimes as a friendly competition, sometimes under duress. Sometimes they tie, other times Flash wins by a narrow margin. Keeping up with the fastest man alive is no laughing matter. Omni-Man's feats are once again on a much smaller scale, still very impressive though. He is able to catch Red Rush's fist, Red Rush being a speedster capable of punching hundreds of times per second. Despite this, Omni-Man catches him, immobilizes him, and crushes his skull. While fighting Mark, he notices fighter jets entering the area. He disappears from view and reaches them in an instant, destroying one mid-air, suggesting hypersonic movement. His greatest feat of speed would be when he invades the Flaxen Dimension and slaughters their entire army, destroying cities and killing their leadership within seconds. He is seen as nothing but a blur followed by wakes of destruction and death. Omni-Man can travel at hypersonic speeds. He's fast enough to fly through continents in minutes and kill thousands in a blink. But he's not faster than light, not even close. In terms of reaction speed, Superman is in a league of his own. If you think their speeds are impressive, just wait until you hear how durable they are. Superman's durability is unquestionable, but let's try to start on the lesser end. Superman is able to trade blows with Doomsday, a genetically engineered killing machine. Each punch creates shock shockwaves across cities, and the entire eastern seaboard shakes during their fight. He took a full blast from Darkseid's Omega beams, which typically erase people from existence or trap them in alternate timelines. Superman resists it depending on the version, even outfighting it with willpower. If that's not enough, he dived into the core of the sun on a rescue mission, absorbing a solar overload that temporarily mutates him. The sun's core burns at 15 million degrees Celsius, and its gravitational pressure would crush any known material, but Superman takes it. Omni-Man's feats are once again on a much more definable scale. He survived a train collision without slowing down, dragging Mark through a speeding passenger train, letting it slam into him repeatedly as bodies explode around them. Hundreds of tons of steel moving at high speed shred on impact, and Omni-Man doesn't even flinch, not even a scratch on him. He casually resists bullets, missiles, and even a giant satellite skybeam. But most impressively is when he survived flying through planet Viltrum's core, withstanding immense heat and gravitational pressure. Impressive? Definitely. But Superman's feats are on a different scale, a cosmic scale. Omni-Man is terrifying by human standards, Superman is terrifying by divine ones. In power scaling, Superman exists in a tier above. His greatest enemies are Time Eaters, Dimension Shatterers, and Gods of Chaos. Omni-Man fights soldiers, rebels, and generals. The gap between them grows by the second. Okay, I know what you're thinking right now, but Omni-Man still has potential. One thing is more important than you realize, and it's the mind. Superman is often underestimated here, but he's not just a powerhouse. He's a trained journalist, an investigator, a scientist, and in many stories, a tactical genius. He's battled for centuries in alternate timelines, trained with Batman, Wonder Woman, and Jor-El. He solves dimensional puzzles, speaks every known language on Earth and beyond, and adapts to new threats with lightning speed. He's fought alongside the Justice League, the Legion of Superheroes, and even the New Gods. He understands how to lead, how to coordinate, and how to manipulate battlefields. Omni-Man is a warrior, trained in combat for centuries. He knows how to fight. He's experienced in Viltrumite battle tactics, but strategy isn't his strength. Overwhelming forces. His problem solving often boils down to punching harder or intimidating enemies. So who wins in a chess match? Superman. Every time. A common argument. Omni-Man doesn't hold back, Superman does. True, but let's be clear. Superman doesn't hold back because he has to. He holds back because he chooses to. He sees value in every life. He doesn't want to destroy when he can protect, but when he needs to unleash, just ask Doomsday, ask the Anti-Monitor, ask Zod. We've seen Superman cut loose, and it is terrifying. He could burn Omni-Man out of existence before Nolan blinks. And when Superman chooses to fight with his full potential, the battlefield itself becomes irrelevant. Mountains shatter, oceans evaporate, time slows. Omni-Man's willingness to kill doesn't give him an edge. It just reveals his lack of control. Superman doesn't need to kill to win. He wins because he fights with purpose, precision, and a higher moral code. He wins because his values elevate him beyond brute force. Let's talk about storytelling. Superman represents hope. He is restrained, moral, and ultimate power guided by compassion. Omni-Man represents authoritarianism. He's what happens when power has no limits and no empathy. Their stories aren't just about strength, they're metaphors. Superman chooses to be human despite being a god. Omni-Man pretends to be human while seeing us as ants. Superman uplifts humanity, Omni-Man enslaves it. In any narrative, Superman wins because he is the ideal. Omni-Man loses because he is the cautionary tale. Their arcs aren't aligned. Their values aren't compatible. This isn't a rivalry, it's a moral mismatch. Superman is the answer to the question, what if God were good? Omni-Man is the warning, what if he wasn't? Let's say they do fight. Full power, neutral setting, no help, no kryptonite, just fists and fury. Omni-Man attacks first, Superman takes the hit, maybe even stumbles. Then he counters with a punch that folds mountains. Omni-Man is fast, but Superman is faster. Nolan goes for a grapple. Superman breaks it, flies into orbit, and slams Omni-Man through an asteroid field. Even if Nolan draws blood, it doesn't matter. Superman heals in seconds. And if Superman gets serious, it's over in less than a minute. Maybe Nolan tries to retreat. Superman follows. Maybe he tries to reason. Superman doesn't flinch. When he knows the world is at risk, when innocent lives hang in the balance, Kal-El acts with defined swiftness. No cosmic tools, no Batman with a plan, just Superman. So why the debate? Why do people even ask this question? Because Invincible was brilliant. Omni-Man is terrifying, complex, and incredibly written. He shocked us. He broke the mold. And with J.K. Simmons voicing him, perfection. But hype isn't strength. A great character doesn't equal a great matchup. Superman has has 80 years of scaling. He's fought beings who can rewrite reality. Omni-Man, he's a king in a sandbox. Superman's battles span the multiverse. We love Omni-Man, but loving a character doesn't mean pretending he can be Superman. It means appreciating his story for what it is, a powerful warning, not a power fantasy. All this leaves us with a question: who would walk away from a fight? Well, I think no matter what version, what universe, or what fight, Superman would walk away every time. If you enjoyed this video and want to find out everyone that could kill Omni-Man, click the video on the screen. Everyone thinks that Battle Beast vs Superman would be an epic battle, but it's not even close. And I'll be breaking down every reason why. Starting with where they come from, because origins shape everything. Battle Beast was born as Thok, a leonine warrior cursed with unimaginable power and an insatiable thirst for war. Coming from a war-torn world locked in endless conflict, Thok once sought to end the chaos and unite his people. But in doing so, he was cursed. How that happened is never revealed, but he was given unstoppable strength, boundless stamina, and near invulnerability. This curse made him a living engine of destruction. With unmatched mastery of hand-to-hand combat and all known weaponry, Battle Beast became a legend across the cosmos. He tore through the mightiest beings and civilizations, conquering thousands of worlds and earning the dreaded title, the Scourge of the Twin Galaxies. Entire star systems trembled at the whisper of his name. A simple promise of fighting a worthy opponent is enough to win him over, which is how I think Machine Head, a simple gang boss on Earth, was able to hire him. But their alliance brought Battle Beast into direct conflict with Invincible and the Guardians of the Globe. But they ended up being a little more than heroes that he effortlessly defeated and left broken, not even considering them worthy of death.
This battle is beneath me. There is no honor in killing insects.
Later, Battle Beast was captured only to be freed by Omni-Man and Alan the Alien. When he learned there were Viltrumites aboard the floating prison, a race he had never fought before, he demanded that they fight him immediately. He swiftly tore through one of them and, with his bloodlust still raging, he drifted into space, frozen until he was recovered by the coalition of planets. Joining their cause, Battle Beast continued to decimate Viltrumite forces, even using the bodies of dead Viltrumite warriors as weapons against other Viltrumites. But his thirst for a worthy challenge remained unquenched. That challenge finally came in the form of Thrag, the most powerful Viltrumite to ever live. When Battle Beast first went up against Thrag, he was overpowered by the Viltrumite, who called him a nuisance at best. Later, he was tasked by the coalition to put an end to his opponent once and for all. Having gotten the best gift, he raced to find Thrag. Their fight was the most hyped and arguably the greatest fight in comic book history. The battle begins where Thrag, already weakened from his previous encounter with the Ragnar, faces off against the Battle Beast. The stakes are high as both characters are known for their formidable combat skills. Battle Beast, with his warrior's code, slices open his own chest to ensure that the fight is fair, demonstrating his respect for Thrag and his desire for an honorable battle. As the fight progresses, the comic captures the ferocity of their exchanges. The panels are filled with dynamic action sequences, illustrating the sheer power of their blows. Thrag, despite his injuries, showcases his tactical prowess, using his experience to counter Battle Beast's relentless attacks. Throughout the 3 days of combat, the environment around them becomes a testament to their struggle, with debris and destruction marking the battlefield. The fight is not just physical, it is a clash of wills, with both characters refusing to back down. In the next issue, we see the tide begin to turn as Thrag, fueled by desperation and rage, starts to gain the upper hand. The final moments are glorious as Battle Beast does nothing but thank him for a worthy fight. Thrag would go on to prove himself as the coalition's greatest threat. He effortlessly punched through Omni-Man, destroyed entire planets, and reduced top-tier warriors who have literally thrown through Viltrum's core to ash with terrifying ease. Going against him alone is no easy feat, and this makes Battle Beast the embodiment of determination. But even going toe-to-toe with Thrag would not prove that Battle Beast has enough power against Superman, because it all boils down to core beliefs. Superman, on the other hand, was born as Kal-El on the doomed planet Krypton as the son of brilliant scientists Jor-El and Lara. As Krypton was hanging on by a thread, its core destabilized by a catastrophic natural event. Jor-El took desperate action. Determined to save his son from the planet's doomed fate, he constructed a small spacecraft and placed infant Kal-El inside just moments before Krypton was destroyed in a massive explosion. The ship traveled across the stars, eventually crash landing near Smallville, Kansas on Earth. There, There, the baby was discovered by a compassionate farming couple, Jonathan and Martha Kent, who took him in as their own. They named him Clark Kent and raised him with love, humility, and a strong moral compass. As Clark grew, he began to display incredible powers, gifts granted by Earth's yellow sun and its lighter gravity. These abilities included super strength, flight, heat vision, X-ray vision, super speed, and near invulnerability. Though his origins were alien, his heart and values were shaped by the human family that raised him. Embracing those values, Clark eventually moved to Metropolis, where he pursued a career in journalism at the Daily Planet. There, he assumed the identity of Superman, a beacon of hope, truth, and justice. More than just a hero with otherworldly powers, Superman represents the triumph of nurture over nature. His deep bond with humanity defines him. He chooses to protect, to inspire, and to lead by example, not because he has to, but because it's the right thing to do. This becomes the core difference between them. Superman is the ultimate protector of Earth. In every sense, he stands for everything humanity embodies, a being of near infinite strength guided by compassion and unwavering moral clarity. Battle Beast, on the other hand, represents something far more primal. Raw power, endless rage, and a legacy of conquest. He doesn't conquer for an empire expansion like Omni-Man, he battles for the thrill, for the test, for the war itself. Cursed with invincibility and driven by an unquenchable thirst for combat, Battle Beast is not pretending to be human. He never cared. He's the purest form of a warrior god, and he exists only to fight. Battle Beast only cares about finding an opponent greater than he is. Even when Thrag kills him, he thanks the Viltrumite for giving him a worthy death. But that isn't their only difference. Superman's strength is so immense it bends reality. In more abstract feats, he once entered the metaphysical realm to turn a page in the Book of Destiny, a book whose infinite pages each carry infinite weight. That's a metaphor, yes, but also a feat of cosmic will. In a more concrete sense, he moved the entire planet Earth out of a rogue planet's path. That's not a moment of extreme adrenaline. That's just Superman being Superman. He's held black holes in his bare hands. He's lifted Earth mass simulators near the sun non-stop for 5 days. He has wrestled gods, stopped collapsing dimensions, and torn apart time loops through force and willpower. Battle Beast? He's not a planet mover. He doesn't bend books of destiny, but he breaks warriors. He's fought and killed the most powerful beings across galaxies. He's conquered thousands of worlds, not through technology or armies, but with his own hands. He tore through armies of Viltrumites, used them as weapons, and laughed through it. His battle with Thrag, the strongest Viltrumite, lasted days. A cosmic fest that shattered landscapes and pushed both to the brink of death. When Thrag faltered, Battle Beast cut himself open just to keep the fight fair. That's not a strategy, that's an obsession. He doesn't want to win. He wants to fight someone worthy. Speed becomes a similar comparison. Superman is a blur to anything bound by time. He reacts in microseconds, can fly from Earth to Vega, which is 25 light years away, in minutes, and has crossed the universe in seconds. He's outraced the Flash on rare occasions, even keeping up when Flash taps into the Speed Force. He's disabled global satellite weapons in seconds, caught bullets after they were fired, and dodged lightspeed attacks like they're nothing. Battle Beast is fast. Very fast. But he isn't flying between star systems. He doesn't dodge beams at light speed or blitz entire continents in moments. He's never needed to. His durability means he doesn't run from attacks. He runs through them. But if we're talking pure speed and reaction, Superman is in another dimension, literally and figuratively. But even Battle Beast's durability is no match. Superman has taken punches from beings who shatter dimensions. He's tanked Darkseid's Omega beams, which erase people from reality. He's endured sun core level heat, 15 million degrees Celsius, and gravitational pressures that would crush entire planets. And he doesn't just survive it. He absorbs it. There is no real measure to how much Battle Beast can endure. So let's look at it from the view of his greatest opponent. Viltrumites are strong by nature. Omni-Man punches Invincible through buildings, cities, a mountain, and across a multi-mile distance. Conquest does the same and breaks out of a prison weighing 400 tons casually. Thrag is the greatest one of them all. Top tier characters who have flown through the core of Viltrum, withstanding its heat and dramatically destroying it, are routinely one-shotted by Thrag. He gives a brutal beating to anyone who even dares to face him. Standing your ground in battle against such a character is a testimony to Battle Beast's durability. He's walked through cities of flame and armies of monsters. He's not just durable, he's functionally unkillable to most. But cosmic, abstract, dimensional? That's Superman's playground. And when it comes to strategy on the battlefield, Superman once again is unparalleled. Here's where most people drastically underestimate Superman. They see the muscles, the cape, the planet-lifting strength, and assume he's just a blunt instrument of force. But Superman's mind is as formidable as his fists. He's not just a fighter, he's a polymath, a philosopher, a leader, and a tactician who has outwitted gods and cosmic entities alike. By trade, Clark Kent is a Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative journalist, trained to spot patterns, uncover deception, and think critically under pressure. His years at the Daily Planet aren't just a disguise. They sharpen his ability to analyze situations quickly, observe from multiple angles, and find truth in chaos. These skills bleed into battle, where his instincts often rival Batman's in tactical foresight. But he's also a scientist, raised by Jonathan Kent on a farm but schooled by Kryptonian technology, particularly the teachings of his biological father, Jor-El, whose AI lives on in the Fortress of Solitude. From understanding black holes to building containment fields for reality-warping threats, Superman has often solved problems that stump even the greatest minds of the Justice League. In Action Comics number 775, for example, Superman defeats the Elite, a group of brutal anti-heroes, not just through power, but by exposing the moral and tactical flaws in their philosophy. He's also a seasoned battlefield commander. He's led the Justice League in conflicts involving gods, aliens, and multi-dimensional threats. He's worked beside Wonder Woman in ancient warfare, trained in Amazonian combat tactics. He has even sparred with Batman, one of the greatest minds in the DC universe, who has admitted that Superman isn't just raw force, but a quick-thinking, high-adaptable fighter. In the Trinity series and others, the synergy between Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman isn't just about power balance, it's about strategic harmony. In terms of raw experience, Superman has lived through centuries and alternate timelines as seen in All-Star Superman, Kingdom Come, and Superman Red Sun, adapting not only physically but philosophically. He solved 5-dimensional puzzles from Mr. Mxyzptlk, debated with cosmic intellects like Brainiac, and withstood the mental assaults of telepaths like Manchester Black and Martian Manhunter. He also speaks every known language on Earth, learned through exposure, Kryptonian memory implants, and sheer will. Beyond that, he's fluent in Interlac, the universal language of the 30th century legion of superheroes, the Martian dialect, and various Kryptonian dialects, making him invaluable in diplomacy and alien relations. In Superman Up in the Sky, he tracks a kidnapped child across space-time, navigating hostile worlds using his intelligence just as much as his strength. Even in combat, Superman doesn't just punch, he calculates. He's shown in multiple comics like Superman for Tomorrow and GLA, Tower of Babel to analyze his opponent's psychology, physiology, and environment mid-battle, finding precise pressure points, weaknesses, and non-lethal ways to neutralize threat. And it's not all theory. Superman was trained under Wildcat in boxing, under Batman in stealth and tactics, and under Wonder Woman in divine combat. He's absorbed strategies from alien species, new gods like Orion, and warrior cultures across galaxies. So when Superman enters a fight, he's not just bringing strength, he's bringing centuries of knowledge, a mind enhanced by Kryptonian genetics, a heart trained in journalism, diplomacy, and morality. The kind of battle-tested wisdom that only a being who has fought alongside gods and humans alike could possess. In short, Superman doesn't just win with might, he wins with mind, method, and meaning. Battle Beast in comparison does not even hold a candle to this. He's a warrior through and through. He's war incarnate, a living embodiment of conflict forged not in training halls, but in blood-soaked battlefields that stretch across stars. He wasn't taught to fight, he was built for it. From the moment he was cured with power, his path has been one of relentless, unending combat. And in that process, he didn't just become skilled, he became a monster of martial perfection. Over lifetimes, Battle Beast mastered every form of known weaponry, from blades and hammers to alien plasma axes and gravitic chains. He doesn't use weapons, he becomes them. He's fought the greatest champions of thousands of worlds and left their civilizations in ruin. His reputation alone was enough to instill fear across galaxies, so feared that many refused to speak his name aloud, choosing superstition over courage. That's not a legend, that's a precedent. But here's where the contrast becomes stark. Battle Beast doesn't adapt, he doesn't evolve, he endures. Strategy? Tactics? Formation? They're irrelevant to him. His approach is pure primal dominance. Overwhelm, overpower, destroy. While others assess terrain or weigh risk versus reward, BattleBeast charges headfirst because for him, there is no scenario where he should not be the victor. His instincts are refined to an art. Yes, he can read attacks, respond with vicious precision, and dismantle entire squads in seconds. But that's reaction, not reflection. He's a lone wolf, not because he prefers solitude, but because no one survives long enough to fight beside him. His battles are duels, even if he's surrounded. He doesn't coordinate with allies, he outpaces them. He doesn't set traps, he breaks through them. And in moments where a tactician would retreat to regroup, BattleBeast surges forward even if it means death, because for him, a glorious end in combat is not failure, it's fulfillment. There is a brilliance to his savagery, but it's the brilliance of a hurricane. Not calculated, not flexible, but unstoppable. He once tore through Viltrumite warriors using their own corpses as weapons. He doesn't outthink his enemies, he outlasts them. He outbleeds them. And if he dies, he does so with a grin. But this also marks his limit. While Superman learns from every opponent, BattleBeast challenges them to break him. Where Superman shifts tactics mid-fight, BattleBeast doubles down. Where Superman views each life as something to protect, BattleBeast sees life as a test to be survived or ended. He is a glorious engine of destruction, but not a general, not a tactician, and certainly not a leader. In the end, BattleBeast isn't built to win wars. He's built to die in one. But through all of this, Superman's greatest strength is restraint. It's easy to be overwhelmed by his power, to see the heat vision, the speed, the strength to drag planets behind him and assume that is what makes him invincible. But the truth is far more profound. Superman's power isn't defined by what he can do. It's defined by what he chooses not to. He could end most battles before they begin. He could crush bones with a flick of his finger, silence tyrants with a glance, vaporize entire armies in a moment. But he doesn't, because Clark Kent, Kal-El, believes in something greater than power. He believes in light, in mercy, in giving people a chance to be better even if they don't deserve it. He holds back not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Because when gods walk among mortals, only one thing prevents them from becoming monsters: choice. But make no mistake, when that choice is taken from him, when innocent lives hang by a thread, when diplomacy fails and the monsters refuse to stop, Superman doesn't hesitate. And when he cuts loose, even cosmic deities falter. The ground trembles, time distorts, the air ignites. Superman unleashes truth, and it comes in the shape of a fist moving faster than thought, backed by a soul forged in hope. He ends wars in seconds. He silences chaos with absolute precision. No mess, no cruelty, no ego, just justice. Now, let's look at BattleBeast. He has no concept of restraint, no dial to turn down. He is all fire, no filter. A warrior who doesn't fight to protect, or to restore, or even to win. He fights to fight. Every blow he throws is meant to kill. Every enemy is a test, not a morality, but of endurance. And if they fall short, if they die screaming in his wake, he offers no remorse. No reflection, just a growl and the hunger for the next worthy opponent. It's not bravery, it's a mania, a curse disguised as strength. He doesn't want peace, he doesn't believe in it. In fact, he fears it, because peace means the battle is over, and if there's no battle, who is he? That's the total difference. Superman fights because he has to. BattleBeast fights because he needs to. One seeks to end suffering, the other thrives in it. Superman can break worlds, but choose to heal them. BattleBeast can tear through legions, but never one stops to rebuild what he destroys. And when the dust settles, that difference echoes loudest. Because Superman doesn't just win, he brings closure. He ends the fight decisively, surgically, with precision born from principle. No wasted motion, no collateral carnage, just what needs to be done. BattleBeast never finishes anything. He kills, he conquers, then he leaves. There's no arc, no conclusion, just a trail of blood and a hunger that never fades. So when they collide, when restraint meets rage, only one walks away in control. Superman doesn't fight to prove he's the strongest. He fights to prove that strength alone is not enough. Superman is a symbol. He's the ideal. He's what power looks like when guided by love and principle. BattleBeast is a warning. He's what happens when power serves only the ego, when the purest of strength overtakes the reason to fight in the first place. Superman chooses humanity, BattleBeast rejects it. Superman protects life, BattleBeast tests it. Their stories are both powerful, but their values are fundamentally opposed. This isn't a rivalry, it's a moral mismatch. In the end, BattleBeast is a god of war. Superman is a god of mercy. One fights because he wants to, the other because he has to. Battle Beast is glorious, brutal, and unforgettable, but Superman is inevitable. Let's imagine it. No kryptonite, no tricks, no backup, no speeches, no limits, just Superman and Battle Beast. Neutral ground, a barren world forgotten by time. No civilians to save, no cities to protect, just endless terrain and an open sky. A place where restraint has no reason to exist. Battle Beast doesn't wait. He never does. He charges with a roar that cracks the air, eyes glowing with bloodlust, his war axe raised high. It's not strategy, it's instinct. It's a need. A single downward strike and it connects. Superman doesn't dodge. He lets it happen. The weapon bites. It cuts skin that's withstood black holes. Blood, Kryptonian blood, is drawn. Battle Beast grins. Finally, a worthy fight. Then, Superman moves. No words, just a blur. A punch faster than thought, faster than Battle Beast can process, connects with his chest and sends him crashing through mountains, through oceans, into orbit. The impact alone shifts the planet's axis. But Battle Beast is laughing. He claws his way from a crater the size of a city, shakes off molten rock, and launches himself back into the battle. What follows isn't a fight, it's war. They collide again and again, trading strikes that rupture tectonic plates. Shockwaves flatten landscapes. Volcanic eruptions ripple in their wake. Clouds spiral into unnatural patterns. They brawl across oceans, into the stratosphere, through the moon's crust, and back again. A storm of muscle, will, and fury. But Battle Beast doesn't adapt. He just endures. Every attack he throws is raw, primal, and predictable. He's a beast, relentless, ferocious, but single-minded. Superman adapts. He studies each movement, each pattern, each tell, and slowly, methodically, he begins to outpace him, to outthink him. He doesn't just match strength, he leverages intellect, tactics, timing. Battle Beast lands hits, but fewer. Superman starts landing more, harder, and then he decides to end it once and for all. A blinding solar flare burst, channeled with surgical focus, engulfs Battle Beast. His armor melts, his axe vaporizes mid-swing, then a strike faster than sound, then light, then thought collapses the very space around them, warping gravity, halting momentum. Battle Beast is dazed. For the first time, he hesitates. Superman grabs him. A grip like the core of a dying star, crushing, not to kill, but to stop. The resoluteness and a calm composure, he ends the fight. Battle Beast fails, unconscious or broken, it doesn't matter. There's nothing left to prove. The warrior got his fight, and Superman? He gave it everything and still held back just enough. So, the answer to who would win in Battle Beast vs. Superman? The answer is obvious. No matter the version, the universe, or the arena, Superman walks away every time. Everyone knows Superman is incredibly strong. In fact, he's often considered as one of the strongest heroes to ever exist. But what happens when we put him in the world of Invincible? From Omni-Man's sheer strength to Adam Eve's godlike capabilities, can the characters from Invincible emerge victorious in a battle with the Man of Steel? Let's find out. Originally named Kal-El, Superman was born to Jor-El and Lara on a planet Krypton. It was a world of science, logic, and intellect. Under the Red Sun, Kryptonians were like humans, devoid of special abilities. Their technology was thousands of years ahead of Earth, with them using cloning and holographic memory crystals. Their society valued logic over emotion, but as advanced and as logical as they were, the Kryptonians did not listen to the warnings of impending doom. Their arrogance led to their downfall. Being the only Kryptonians who took this seriously, Jor-El and Lara built a spacecraft to carry their child away from their planets. And in Krypton's final moments, they bid goodbye to their treasured child as he left for Earth. Landing in rural Kansas, United States, the to-be Superman is found by two farmers, Jonathan and Martha. They're honest and hardworking people who name him Clark Kent and love him as their own. He grows up living a humble life with caring parents who instilled values of bravery, justice, and honesty in him. Eventually, he begins to change as his Kryptonian biology starts to show. Under the yellow sun, something divine awakened in him and he got to experience what his people did not. He gets superhuman strength, enough to lift buildings and mountains mountains. But it doesn't stop there. He becomes fast enough to zoom past trains and aircrafts. Bullets become pebbles against him. He could soar through the skies and hear a whisper from miles away. Training these newfound powers, Superman not only grows in strength, but also in wisdom. With the values instilled in him by his adoptive parents, he learns to use his powers responsibly. His mission becomes simple: protect the ones who cannot protect themselves. By following this code, he became a symbol of hope and justice during dark times. But to the public, Clark Kent is a journalist. In his job, he goes on the front lines of natural disasters, scandals, and attacks, all times where Superman is needed. This keeps him updated on current affairs, and he wasn't just standing around. Over time, as Superman battles mighty foes, his powers reach new heights. He's able to lift the Earth's entire mass near the sun for more than 5 days. He can run so quickly that if he circles a spot, he's able to create a time portal and travel through it. His powers are so immeasurable that it's comical, but that's the point. He didn't get his name out of thin air. He has constantly proven over and over again by completely embodying it. But what actually makes Superman such a great hero are not for his powers, but his morality. He's genuinely kind. He feels for the people he protects. He hurts for the people he has no connection to. He's a superior being in strength, speed, durability, and power. He could have the world under his feet and have humans as his loyal servants, but he doesn't, because that's not him. He's not a ruler, he's not a conqueror, he's a protector, and he's compelled to be a fighter to protect the ones he loves. This is the reason Superman is the ultimate hero. Now, let's put him in the Invincible universe, a place known for its brutality. First in line is our protagonist, Invincible. Also known as Mark Grayson, he is born to Nolan Grayson, a Viltrumite, and Debbie Grayson, a human. Though he eagerly waits to be just like his father, Omni-Man, he shows no signs of developing powers of his own. When he turns 17, though, his Viltrumite DNA finally awakens.
It's about time. Had a pretty interesting day.
Sorry I'm late.
Mark was getting ready to tell us how interesting his day was.
Guess who's finally getting his powers?
Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
Oh, that's great, son. Just great.
Under his father's training with his newfound strength, Invincible's able to lift boulders as if they were pebbles. He's able to soar through the sky at an unbelievable speed, and perhaps the most important ability he gains is his near invulnerability, giving him his iconic name, Though this training is useful, there's an undertone to it. Omni-Man isn't simply teaching his son to be a strong superhero. He's teaching him to be a fighter, a winner, a ruthless Viltrumite, and above all, a ruler. But Omni-Man severely underestimated him, because even though Invincible has survived deathly fights, his Viltrumite DNA and his powers are not what define him. His best qualities are within: his strong will and unshakable morals. He knows that life is precious and that as someone strong, he cannot just destroy it. He believes that every species, whether Thraxan, Atlantean, or human, deserves to live and exist in their own way. Though they may be weaker and have flaws in their civilizations, Invincible believes worlds cannot be forced to submit. In this sense, he's unwilling to bend his morals even when he's at death's door. So when he finds out that Omni-Man is actually there to capture Earth for Viltrumite rule, Invincible defends it relentlessly. His own father tells him it's okay to pity those weaker than him, but wrong to value them. According to Omni-Man, Invincible's resistance is meaningless because he'll outlive all the people he's fighting for, and it won't matter in 50 or 100 years. But it does matter. It matters to Invincible.
What will you have after 500 years?
You, Dad. I still have you.
However insignificant or short-lived Omni-Man thinks human life is, Invincible strongly believes it has value. He will never enslave his friends, his family, and his people. For aliens he's never met, Earth is his home and he won't let anyone destroy it. Realizing it's pointless to try and change his mind through words, Omni-Man then uses Invincible to cause mass chaos. But no matter what he does, it's not enough to break Invincible. His message was simple: he will never join his father in conquering Earth. After this world-shattering conflict, Invincible rises up stronger than before. He protected his family against Angstrom, fought the Thraxian battle against 3 Viltrumites, and made it out of the Invincible War. He has trained and learned from being broken. This all came to a full display in his fight against Conquest. With some help from Oliver and Adam Eve, he defeated the experienced Viltrumite. Now, let's take this developed, smarter, and faster version of Invincible and pit him against Superman. When we look at it, Invincible and Superman do have similar abilities. Both possess flight, strength, speed, and invulnerability, but at entirely different levels. It's like comparing a home cook to a head chef. First, let's look at flight and speed. Invincible can circle the globe, match the speed of rockets, and fly to the moon and back with incredible speed. But Superman flies with more precision and more speed. He's faster than the speed of light. He has raced against the Flash, who has Speed Force in his arsenal and won. Their strength is a similar comparison. Invincible can lift the heaviest object on Earth, an iceberg, and still lift more. Superman can bench press the Earth itself for 5 whole days, breaking only a slight sweat. Lastly, their invulnerability. Invincible is able to withstand tanks, bullets, fatal deadly injuries, and even atomic explosions. But all of that is a joke to Superman, because he can withstand flying through the boiling hot core of a star, a black hole, and a nuclear warhead, still taking 0 damage. Though Invincible has determination, and yes, he would fight till his body gives out, this still would not be enough. Unfortunately for him, Superman outranks him in the same abilities they shared and more. Having trained with Wonder Woman and Batman, Superman will foresee every move and win before Invincible can even blink. So the verdict is clear. Superman wins easily. Following the family tree, let's discuss Invincible's father, Omni-Man. Omni-Man, also known as Nolan Grayson, is a Viltrumite. He comes from a planet called Viltrum with aliens that resemble humans but possess inhuman strength. Before Nolan was born, his people engaged in a mass massacre in what was called the Great Purge. They weeded out all of their weak and killed them.
In order for our people to reach their full potential, we had to remove the weak. It was a long and difficult process. When it was over, our population was cut in half. But what emerged from the ashes was unstoppable.
This formed a population of only the strong and secured a future of undeniable strength. As a result of being brought up with this ideology, Omni-Man is ruthless. It's in his blood. His DNA is warforged. He's a Viltrumite and his sole purpose is to serve his empire's conquest. He assisted in waging war, killing thousands and conquering many planets. He was one of their trusted soldiers. So much that he's referred to as Nolan the Great by the other Viltrumites. But as their territory grew, the Viltrumite forces were spread thin. So the most trusted Viltrumites were assigned a planet each to destroy from within. And as we all know, Omni-Man was assigned Earth. On Earth, Omni-Man disguised himself as a superhero. He meets Debbie on a mission and has a family with her. In this way, he was able to learn about Earth's society and blend in as a travel author. Now, let's analyze him. He's a conqueror, a planetary threat. He's brought entire civilizations to their knees, shaken a whole planet with his fists. He killed the Guardians of the Globe, known as the strongest superhero team on Earth, all by himself. He is overwhelmingly strong. He crushed their heads in his palms, sliced through their bodies with his arms, and severed their heads. These superheroes were not strangers to him. They were friends and allies who risked their lives with him. But that didn't matter. They got in Omni-Man's way, so they had to go. With them becoming splattered organs and blood, he became one step closer to his goal. For him, compassion is a liability, a weakness. He knows he's superior, and he knows he can do anything he wants, and he does it to conquer. He caused mass destruction going on a rampage only to educate his son. Buildings collapse, the ground shatters, and everyone around becomes tools to display his Viltrumite superiority. Thousands die in mere moments when he lets loose. That's not enough though. He stops jets in mid-air, ripping them apart to kill the people inside.
Look what they need to mimic a fraction of our power. It's right to pity them, Mark. Wrong to value them over your own kind.
Besides the countless planetary massacres and almost killing his own son, Omni-Man has been in other battles. His durability and near invulnerability are great assets. When Cecil deployed a satellite orbital laser on him that created a crater on the ground and incinerated the surroundings, he survived. On Thraxa, when another Viltrumite shattered his spine after a gruesome battle, he survived. In the comics, when Invincible, Thetis, and Omni-Man flew through the boiling hot core of the planet Viltrum, it's a no-brainer at this point. No amount of superpower Hybrid beings, advanced technology, cataclysmic disasters, and nuclear weapons are strong enough for him. But the question comes up again. Against Superman, how would he hold up? We've already determined that Omni-Man and Superman are undeniably strong. Just like with Invincible, they share abilities too. Omni-Man is strong. He's murdered civilizations at record speed, slaughtered an entire superhero team consisting of speedsters, mages, and immortals in minutes. He can hold his son in front of a speeding train and not even rebound by a millimeter. But Superman is stronger, and Omni-Man can even hold a candle to him. Superman has pulled a string of planets across space using a chain. He's rebuilt a broken moon and assembled all its parts together. Furthermore, Superman has gone toe-to-toe with godlike beings such as Darkseid, Doomsday, Black Adam, and Wonder Woman. Speed-wise, we know Omni-Man is fast enough to circle the globe in seconds, fly past jets at hypersonic speed, and burst off into space within seconds. But as we've established, Superman has kept up with the Flash, the fastest being alive. He can travel from the Earth to the sun in seconds. He's so quick that he's neutralized threats before they even get to react. Omni-Man can't match that. Being outranked in the abilities they share, and coupled with the fact that Superman possesses more abilities like heat vision, super breath, X-ray vision, and more, this fight is a win for Superman. Speaking of people close to Invincible, let's talk about his girlfriend, Adam Eve. Adam Eve, also known as Samantha Eve Wilkins, undoubtedly has one of the strongest powers in the show. Her powers come from a government project specifically engineered to create a super weapon. She was designed to have reality-altering abilities that would allow her to manipulate matter, whether living or not, at an atomic level. During her birth, her powers emitted out of control, creating a pink energy through her mother's eyes. Tragically, though, her biological mother passes away during the difficult labor process.
This woman is in grave danger.
We can take it from here, Mr.
Dr. Brandyworth. No.
Steven Erickson comes to collect Eve right after her birth, but her father, Brandyworth, switches to a stillborn child with Eve to prevent her from living a restricted life of service to the US government. Betsy and Adam Wilkins would become her new adoptive parents who raise her as a normal child. It becomes clear enough, though, that Eve is in fact not normal. Her high intellect and curiosity starts showing from an early age. Her first word was literally CH2OH. As she grows up, she displays immense knowledge in science, especially chemistry. It just made sense to her. It clicked with her. One day, after an argument with her father, her mother serves her a chicken dinner. Let's just say young Eve is not a fan, but then something magical, something impossible, something unreal happens. She's able to change that meal into a cheeseburger. That's when she knew she had powers. Experimenting with her new abilities, she's able to manipulate reality. When we're first introduced to Eve on the show, we can already see her display of these abilities. She can make weapons, barriers, platforms in the middle of battle. She can clothe herself and others, showing her precision in her ability. She can reconstruct buildings and structures to minimize the damage after fights. Her ability is not only useful for the destruction of enemies, but also the betterment of lives for everyday people. When she leaves home to live alone in the woods, she starts going out and helping regular folk. She materializes crops for farmers, prevents a landslide from injuring tourists, prevents a forest fire saving the trees. With Eve's powers, she can solve global world issues. She can whip up hundreds of batches of food, rebuild shelter, or create new ones at an unbelievable pace and purify water to make it drinkable. Maximizing the output of her powers at a global scale, world hunger, drought, and homelessness could be a thing of the past. But there are limits to the usage of her powers due to a mental block, and excessive use can cause her mental and physical strain. Eve's powers are not just an extension of her physical ability, but also her mental. She needs to know about things on a molecular level to conjure them up correctly. One time, she materializes a community park in a trashed area. Turns out the plot was unstable and the park collapses in on itself, injuring children and adults. Though this does create self-doubt for Eve, she's not one to stay down for long. She starts to take courses for architecture to fill this gap in knowledge. Though Eve can manipulate all matter, she can't do it all the time. When she was given her powers, certain mental blocks were placed that prevent her from being able to manipulate sentient matter, but these psychological blocks can be removed, and we've seen that in her deathly brawl with Conquest. The fight was uneven to begin with. Conquest, a ruthlessly strong Viltrumite, was bound to crush Eve the moment he got close enough, so Eve kept a distance. Protecting herself with armor, conjuring walls, and immensely heavy weapons, she maintained a gap between them for some time. But Conquest could crush through those walls, withstand the weight of those weapons, and eventually would get a hold of Eve and break her armor. Relishing the fight, the smell of blood in the air, and the brutal death of his enemies, he breaks her jaw and delivers the final blow, a lethal punch that goes through her stomach and almost kills Eve. Laying on the ground, bloodied, broken, and her organs spilling out of her, Eve is in a traumatic state.
Such a waste.
I can't do this without you.
Because of the severe mental toll this fight and her injuries take on her, she's able to override those mental blocks. A flood of pink light starts emitting from her body. She heals all her injuries, no longer with a broken jaw or guts spilling out, and in fact, now in pristine condition and health, she deals a lethal attack. An immensely concentrated and powerful laser that rips through Conquest's invulnerable skin and leaves him with only muscle tissue and bones. She cannot maintain this state for long though, and faints. With all this evidence, Eve is basically a god. Once her mental blocks are gone, everyone and everything is her control. She can rearrange guts from the inside. That's not all though. She's able to manipulate all the cells inside a body and break it down at a molecular level. Absolutely brutal and extremely effective. She actually went soft on Conquest. She could have done so much worse. If we take Eve in this state, a state where reality belongs to her and anything she wishes is her will, Superman does not stand a chance. Besides the obvious of killing him from the inside, if Eve happens to have knowledge about kryptonite and its chemical and molecular composition, Superman would be encased in it, trapped in a prison made of shards of the one thing that can hurt him the most. And even worse, prolonged exposure to kryptonite can kill him, so a slow and painful death would await him. Finally, Team Invincible takes a point. Let's follow this trajectory of beings made to be a weapon. Let's talk about Alan the alien next. Alan comes from a planet called Unopa. This planet had achieved harmony between nature and technology with all of its residents happy. That is, until the Viltrumites decided Unopa was theirs to take. Within a matter of days, it was conquered. But hidden from the knowledge of the Viltrum Empire, the Unopans were waiting for a crack in their armor, a moment of weakness to strike and reclaim their rightful land. That moment came after decades of wait, but they had severely underestimated their enemies. Their rebellion failed. The Viltrumites were unbelievably strong, quick, and efficient. By the time they were done, the planet was drenched in blood and completely destroyed. But all was not lost. A small group of Unopans managed to escape. This group set up breeding camps to start rebuilding their population. Not only were the breeding camps for population growth, but they were also a means for revenge. Justice served to the ones that took away their homes, families, and lives. The breeding camps were also a genetic enhancement program to create a soldier strong enough to defeat a Viltrumite. They figured if they created an army of these genetically enhanced Unopans, they'd be able to win. Unfortunately for them, the program's results were not promising. That is, until Alan. Being the first and only success from the program, Alan's early life was spent in victory. There was not one creature that defeated him, not one fight that he lost. He was raised to be a warrior, constantly developing his extraordinary strength and agility. His genetic advancements gave him the ability to travel space casually, near light speed, and telepathy. Born to be the greatest fighter the universe had ever known, Alan continued his victory streak. But this streak was broken the moment he met an actual Viltrumite, his sworn enemy, the one he's destined to defeat. The fight was a complete and utter failure for Alan. His genetic advancements were in fact not strong enough. Following that loss, the genetic advancement program was stopped and Alan was made a planetary evaluation officer. He roamed the galaxies to evaluate protectors of different planets. But what he was actually looking for was an ally strong enough to defeat his enemy. And he finds this ally Invincible, a half-human, half-Viltrumite who has stood up to the Viltrum Empire. Soon after this though, Alan gets questioned by 3 Viltrumites about Omni-Man and Invincible, but he refuses to answer. As a consequence, Alan endures powerful punches, his eye being ripped out of its socket and his stomach being pierced, only to guard this information.
You will tell us everything about your encounter with the Viltrumite of Earth.
Not technically a question.
Are you certain he sired an heir?
Who told you that?
When the Viltrumites leave, he's taken to the hospital and put under intensive care. Thetis, the leader of the coalition of planets, purposely rips the plug on his life support. Because of this, Alan heals stronger. His muscles ripped and bigger than before, his energy rejuvenated and durability increased. This is a whole new version of him. In the comics, there are multiple instances that confirm Alan is now entirely different. In his fight with Lucan, a powerful Viltrumite, Alan is able to kill him with one single punch. This is no longer the Alan who couldn't hold a candle to a Viltrumite's strength. It doesn't stop there though. His transformation has put Alan on a level playing field with Nolan. When they spar, Alan notices he's actually able to keep up with Nolan, a high-tier Viltrumite. He's able to land clean hits, and even Nolan's surprised, noting that he's reaching Viltrumite strength. So it's clear that Alan can defeat mid and high-tier Viltrumites, though that may take more effort. But what about the elite ones? We find out in his battle with Thrag. Thrag is undoubtedly the strongest Viltrumite, and at this point in the comics, Alan is the figurehead for the anti-Viltrumite cause. At first, Alan is able to ambush Thrag and land multiple hits, demonstrating his raw strength. But as expected, Thrag adjusts quickly. He overpowers Alan and quickly gains the upper hand. Thrag's superior speed combined with his decades of combat experience gave him the edge. Thrag crushes Alan's ribs, breaks multiple bones, and nearly kills him. It's obvious from this that Alan will definitely lose with the elites. Let's imagine a fight with Alan and Superman. As we've seen, Alan has sheer raw strength. So does Superman, and as established, he is always at a higher level. Superman lifted infinity, literally. He's able to survive the crushing force of a neutron star, and he's held a black hole in his hands. Sure, Alan may match up to some lower level Kryptonians, even that's just a maybe, but he definitely would not match up to Superman. Now let's go to another world and speak of another alien, Battle Beast. This ferocious beast was introduced to us in season 1 where Mark and Titan fight against Machine Head. Much has not been revealed yet about him, but one thing is for certain, he's hungry for battle. He has an insatiable desire to meet worthy opponents capable enough to grant him a delicious death in battle. He's bloodthirsty. Up until now, we know that he's from a war-torn world, a world where his strength led him to become its guardian. Eventually, he left his planet to travel the universe and, as said before, find worthy opponents. He's fearless and brutal. He has sheer raw strength that can overpower his opponents. He wields an enormous mace, demonstrating not only strength, but skill. Battle Beast either deems you worthy or dead. In season 1, he manages to take out the entire newly elected Guardian team and Invincible. He easily defeated Black Samson, knocked out Rex with a single slap, and incapacitated Robot with just 2 swings of his mace. On top of that, Monster Girl is almost killed when he crushed her skull between 2 rocks. Invincible also nearly dies in this fight as Battle Beast considers him unworthy and leaves after delivering a hard blow to his ribs.
This battle is beneath me. There is no honor in killing insects.
In season 3, we see Battle Beast locked in the Viltrumite prison. Alan breaks him out, and as soon as he's out, he's searching for his new play toy, a Viltrumite. He knows Viltrumites are strong and he wants a fight. Besides his mace, we see him use his razor-sharp fangs and claws to rip into his enemies. Though we don't get to see much of his fight with the Viltrumite, we see the aftermath. Battle Beast peacefully sleeps, hibernating in space as his enemies' limbs, organs, and blood float around him. But perhaps his most impressive feat is his battle with Thrag. When Battle Beast faced him, Thrag was heavily injured. To even the playing field, Battle Beast caused himself a similar injury and began the fight. This fight would prove to be legendary as it went on for multiple days, with each side relentlessly trying to kill the other. In the end, Thrag gained the upper hand and won, but even in death, he announced that he was happy being killed by a worthy opponent. This goes to show how his entire aim is to fight someone strong, and even if he gets killed in battle, he'll find joy in that glorious death. Now let's compare this ferocious beast with Superman. In the strength department, Battle Beast is obviously lacking when compared to Superman. Superman's strength knows no bounds. I don't think I need to reiterate this anymore. Battle Beast can match up to Viltrumites such as Thrag, Omni-Man, and Invincible, but he isn't on par with Superman's planetary strength. Speed-wise, Superman easily outclasses Battle Beast. Battle Beast doesn't focus on speed because he believes that he doesn't need it. He doesn't outrun his enemies, he goes through them. Flying at the speed of light cannot be compared to keeping up with stronger Viltrumites. Powers are another major factor. While Superman has his heat vision, freeze breath, super sense, and quick heal, healing, Battle Beast is purely physical with enhanced strength and durability. Speaking of durability, Superman survives nukes, fighting gods, in a literal black hole. Battle Beast has displayed great stamina and resilience in his fight against Thrag, which lasted for days, but it would still not be enough. Overall, with better speed, more powers, more strength, durability, and quicker healing, Superman would defeat Battle Beast without breaking a sweat. But hey, who is the real winner when Battle Beast literally finds pleasure in battling and being killed by stronger opponents? Moving on, since we mentioned the brutal fight between Battle Beast and Thrag, let's talk about Thrag next. Thrag is the Grand Regent of the Viltrum Empire. He's the strongest Viltrumite to exist. He was born on Viltrum as the son of one of the closest advisors to Emperor Argal. Bred to be the strongest Viltrumite, Thrag fought in the Viltrumite Civil War, where Thetis killed Argal. With his unmatched strength and skill, Thrag was the one to bring back order to the Empire. Eventually granted the title of Grand Regent, he was tasked to find the heir to Argal. When Viltrum finally gets attacked and the Coalition arrives there, Thrag is the one to lead the Viltrum army. Thrag is unbelievably strong, surpassing Omni-Man and surpassing any other Viltrumite. Even the combined strength of Invincible and Omni-Man cannot match his might. Thrag, being the strongest of his kind, is able to absorb attacks dealt to him that would otherwise be death blows. He can withstand hits from characters equally strong and fight for extended periods of time without fatigue. Thrag has the standard powers of a Viltrumite, but being the strongest one to ever exist, he exhibits them on exponentially stronger levels. With matched strategical sense and power, Superman and Thrag will be a close fight. But if Thrag is able to outmaneuver Superman's extra abilities, his ruthlessness will give him the upper hand, ultimately with the ability to walk away from the fight. The last but definitely not least to go up against Superman is the Viltrum Empire itself. Viltrumites are aliens that resemble humans but have superhuman strength, as I've already discussed. Now let's put him up against Superman. All the Viltrumites against the Man of Steel in one epic battle. Each Viltrumite possesses flight and speed, superhuman strength and durability, near invulnerability, and fast healing. All bloodthirsty and mighty strong, and in large numbers, the Viltrum Empire is ruthless. They have experience in massacre, destroying and annihilating anyone who comes in their way. They do not hesitate, especially to kill. This empire is led by the strongest Viltrumite, Thrag, and backed up by elite fighters such as Conquest, Nolan, Anissa, Lucan, and General Craig. Superman is strong, but that doesn't mean he won't be overwhelmed by dozens of coordinated attacks by enemies with strength close to him. Another thing is, Viltrumites don't play fair. They're not here to fight. They're here to win. They're conquerors and dominators. It's in their blood. They could easily exploit Superman's love and attack Lois Jane or Earth to blackmail and gain the upper hand. They could even attack the sun itself to destabilize him, as they're not known to need the sun. Superman already could be defeated by Thrag, and when Thrag has his elite warriors backing him, this fight would be a win for the Viltrumites. Who do you think would win against Superman? Comment down below, and if you like this video, check out this one on everyone that could kill Omni-Man. Invincible has come a long way since his first appearance on the show, but by season 3, he's not just surviving Viltrumites, he's starting to destroy them. He's faster, smarter, more ruthless, and finally starting to live up to his name. But how would this version of Invincible cope against Superman? Today, we'll find out. First, their origins, because origins shape everything. For Mark Grayson, his origin is no accident, no twist of fate, no radioactive spider, or experimental explosion. His story begins long before he ever donned a suit or even threw a punch. It begins in a distant world where strength is law and mercy is weakness. That world is Viltrum, a brutal, advanced planet ruled by a species that considers itself the pinnacle of evolution, the Viltrumites.
By the time I was born, Viltrum was already the greatest empire in our galaxy. We decided to make it the only empire.
They look human, but they are anything but. With godlike strength, flight, enhanced healing, and virtual immortality, Viltrumites are bred for conquest, but their real power lies in their ideology. Centuries ago, they acted out the most horrifying form of this ideology, and that was slaughtering the weak among their own kind until only the strongest survived. Thousands died. What remained was a civilization that knew only war, domination, and the unshakable belief that it was their divine right to rule the universe. This is where Nolan Grayson comes in. He was a top enforcer of the Viltrum Empire. On Earth, he's known as Omni-Man, the greatest hero the world has ever known. But behind the charming smile and perfect jawline is a conqueror sent to weaken the planet from within. His mission was to gain the trust of the planet and learn its weakness, then prepare it for joining the Viltrumite Empire. And he did just that. Decades passed. Nolan embedded himself into human society. He took a job as a travel writer, settled out in the suburbs, and fell in love with a human woman, Debbie.
Mark,
Strike one.
you and I, we made him. This is humanity.
Their union was more than a disguise. It became a complication, because when Mark Grayson, their son, was born, something unexpected happened. It was the beginning of the end of the universe as Nolan knew it. Mark was different. He was half human, half Viltrumite, a hybrid born of two worlds. For years, he showed no signs of power. He was a normal kid in high school, a little awkward, a little sweet, and a little nerdy, obsessed with comics and unsure of who he was. But that normalcy was temporary, because Mark wasn't made to live an ordinary life. His DNA was warforged, and eventually, it woke up. It happened behind a burger joint. One day, as Mark took out the trash at his part-time job, a bag of garbage rocketed into the sky, thrown with a force he didn't know he possessed. That was the moment. His powers had arrived, and everything that came with it. Flight, strength, and insane durability. The Viltrumite side of him had finally activated. He was no longer just Mark. He was becoming something more. He was becoming... Nolan saw it immediately, and his training began soon after. He taught Mark how to control his strength, how to fly, how to fight. But there was always something beneath the surface, an intensity, a pressure, a weight that Mark couldn't quite place. His father's lessons weren't just about becoming a hero, they were about becoming something greater.
I pushed him pretty far. It's what he needs.
Did you maybe push too far?
Are you questioning me?
Nolan believed Mark was destined to be more than just a protector. He was to be a ruler. But Mark wasn't raised on Viltrum. He was raised on Earth. He loved humanity with all its messiness, its failures, and its heart. He believed in justice, in compassion, in second chances. While his powers connected him to Viltrum, his morals were undeniably human. This internal conflict, this war between blood and belief, would define his coming of age. And then the truth came out. When the Viltrumite Empire deemed Earth ripe for conquest, Nolan revealed his true nature. In a moment that shattered everything Mark had ever known, his father slaughtered the Guardians of the Globe, the planet's greatest heroes, and then finally exposed his mission to his son. Earth was weak, he said. The people were fragile. Empathy was a flaw. He begged Mark to join him to help liberate the planet and prepare it for Viltrumite rule. But Mark refused. And so father and son clashed in one of the most brutal battles ever waged. Cities crumbled in their way, mountains cracked, the planet trembled. But worse than the physical destruction was the emotional one. Every punch was a betrayal. Every blow tore at Mark's identity. He wasn't just fighting to stop his father, he was fighting for the right to be himself. Despite being outmatched, despite taking blow after bone-shattering blow, Mark never gave up. He begged his father to stop, to see Earth not as a target, but as a home. He reminded him of the love they shared, the life they built, and in a single moment, while standing over his broken, bloodied son, Nolan hesitated. A flicker of doubt, of pain, of love cracked the Viltrumite armor. He fled.
What will you have after 500 years?
I still have you.
That day changed everything. Mark didn't win the fight, but he won something more powerful. He won the moral high ground. He chose humanity, he chose compassion, he chose Earth. From that moment forward, Mark embraced his identity as Invincible. He wasn't just a boy with powers. He wasn't just the son of Omni-Man, he was the protector of a planet his father tried to destroy. A bridge between two pieces. A hero forged not by accident, but by choice. But the shadow of Viltrum never vanished. The Empire still loomed. The blood in his veins still carried its legacy. And every battle, every choice, every loss reminded Mark that being invincible didn't mean being unbreakable. It meant refusing to stay down. His origin isn't just about power, it's about the responsibility of power. It's not about gaining abilities, but surviving them, carrying the weight of a past he didn't choose and using it to forge a future he believes in. And this is what he embodies. Mark Grayson is invincible not because he can't be hurt, he's invincible because he never gives up. Now let's look at Superman. Superman, otherwise known as Kal-El's origin story, begins not with power, not with war, but with loss. He was born on Krypton, a world of science, intellect, and grandeur. A planet so advanced, its people forgot humility. Krypton was doomed, not by enemies, not by war, but by arrogance. Warnings of planetary collapse were ignored. And when end came, it came with fire and silence. In the face of that catastrophe, two people chose love over despair. Jor-El and Lara, Krypton's greatest minds. They had only minutes left, but in those final breaths, they made a decision that would echo across the galaxy. They placed their only son, Kal-El, into a tiny ship barely large enough for a child, and launched it toward a distant, yellow-sunned world called Earth. It wasn't just an escape, it was a hope.
He'll be an outcast, a freak. They'll kill him.
How? He'll be a god to them.
He arrived in America, landing in the fields of Smallville, Kansas, where he was found by Jonathan and Martha Kent. They were humble, hardworking farmers with loving hands and open hearts. They named him Clark and raised him as their own. They taught him that values mattered more than abilities, that being good was more important than being great. But Clark Kent was not ordinary. Under Earth's yellow sun, something impossible began to happen. His alien physiology transformed him. The light itself awakened something divine in his cells. His strength grew. He could fly. He could see through walls. Bullets bounced off him. Fire couldn't touch him. His mind processed faster than the most advanced computers. He could hear a whisper from miles away, breath in space, and move at the speed of light. He became a god in a world of mortals. But what makes Superman the symbol that he is, isn't what he can do. It's what he chooses not to do. He could rule. He could conquer. He could bend the world to his will with a glance. He is Omni-Man on steroids. But he doesn't, because Clark Kent was raised with the greatest gift Krypton never knew: humanity. His parents didn't train him to dominate. They taught him to care, to listen, to help, and to serve. They showed him that strength means nothing without compassion, that power is a burden, not a privilege. While other heroes were shaped by vengeance or violence, Superman was shaped by love. He wasn't made for war, he was made to be better. He wears the S not as a symbol of status, but as a symbol of hope.
The symbol of the House of El means hope. That's what you can bring them.
It's not a weapon, it's a promise. Because to him, the real power isn't in lifting buildings or stopping bullets. It's to inspire others, in making people believe they can be better too, that the impossible can be achieved, that justice is not just an idea, it's a responsibility. And yet, for all his power, Superman lives with a quiet loneliness. He is the last son of a dead world, the only living Kryptonian for much of his life. He looks human, he sounds human, he loves humans, but he will always be alien. There are no more like him, no Kryptonian festivals, no shared language of his youth, no memories of his mother's lullaby or his father's voice, just silence where a culture used to be. But rather than retreat into grief, Superman turns that pain into purpose. He chooses to belong. He becomes a journalist not to chase fame, but to stay close to humanity's heartbeat, to understand its fears, its joys, its stories. He walks among us, not above us. And in doing so, he learns every day how fragile, how miraculous, and how worth protecting life really is. His greatest enemies often mistake his restraint for weakness. They see his mercy as a flaw, but they don't understand the truth. His strength is not an advantage. It's a limit. Because when you're Superman, you can't afford to lose control. You can't fight with rage. You don't get to be careless. Every battle is a calculation. Every step is measured. Every punch is pulled. He operates under a pressure no one else can comprehend. A single mistake could flatten a city. A second of selfishness could cost millions of lives. And still, he shows up. Every day, he chooses to be the best of us. Not because he has to, not because he was programmed to, but because he believes in us. That's what makes Superman truly invincible. Not the lasers, not the strength, not the flight, but the hope. The unshakable, impossible belief that this world, flawed as it is, can rise. That people can change. That goodness matters. He's not a savior from above. He's a man trying to live up to legacies. The wisdom of Krypton and the heart of Kansas. Kal-El may be the last son of Krypton, but Superman? Superman is Earth's son now. And he's chosen to carry out burdens, to reflect our potential, and to remind us that hope, no matter how buried, always rises.
We, as a population on this planet, have been looking for a savior. 90% of people believe in a higher power.
And that's where Invincible's belief system comes together with this. The unshakable belief in humanity. But what happens when they are pitted against each other? Now, growth matters, especially in Invincible's case, and he has grown. Season 1 Mark was a rookie, a kid thrown into battles he wasn't ready for. His dad nearly beat him to death and made him watch as thousands died. He got stomped by Battle Beast and traumatized at every turn. He had raw power, but no control. Bravery? Sure, but that wasn't enough. By Season 2, we saw Mark evolve. He's smarter, he's faster, he starts thinking like a fighter, not just swinging wildly. He pushes through fear and through failure, and the beatings keep coming, but he starts giving them back. It was also the first time he let his rage take control, killing Angstrom Levy in the process. Now, Season 3 Invincible, this Mark is different. He's been through galactic wars, he's fought Viltrumite elites, held his own against Lucan, and he's made choices his father would hesitate to make. He's not just fighting anymore, he's commanding. He's learning control, precision, and restraint. His regeneration has improved. His flight, second nature. Strength, He's finally getting close to Omni-Man, and he's starting to understand his place in the Viltrumite hierarchy. He's not a pawn, he's a threat. But there's a problem. His opponent isn't just another powerful alien, it's Superman, the blueprint, the benchmark, the beginning and the end of the superhero scale. You don't just match Superman with strength. You don't just outpunch him. You outlast a legacy that spans galaxies. Because let's be honest, even at his peak, Season 3 Invincible is playing in the minor leagues. Superman's been in the major leagues since birth. Because when it comes to raw power, it's not even close. Mark Grayson can punch through concrete bunkers. He can take hits from Viltrumites strong enough to crack moons. And he is fast. He can fly through the atmosphere across continents in seconds. But Superman? He bench presses planets literally for 5 days straight. He had an Earth mass stimulator that he held near the sun for that long. He's flown fast enough to outrun death itself because he can go to Flash tier speeds. His heat vision? That can cut through celestial armor. His ice breath is strong enough to extinguish stars.
Not impressed.
You know how Invincible struggles against the Mauler twins? Superman can breathe and that entire mountain they're hiding in collapses. There can be no comparison between their strengths. Mark gets tired after fighting Thrag for a few minutes. Superman has gone toe-to-toe with Darkseid, Doomsday, and Shazam all at once and kept going. This isn't a difference in level, it's a difference in scale. Now, Mark's durability has grown. He survives orbital re-entry. He tanks punches that would obliterate tanks. When Conquest crushed his skull, he lived. He can regenerate slowly, but steadily. He's hard to kill. But Superman can tank hits from gods. He has survived a supernova. He has taken a blast from Darkseid's Omega beams and smiled. He has withstood black hole level gravity and has shrugged off nukes like they were mosquito bites. Mark heals from damage. Superman barely gets damaged. Their combat style is where it gets interesting. Mark fights like a Viltrumite. Head first, brutal, and emotional. He has improved. He maneuvers, redirects, and uses the environment. But he's still very reactive. You hit him hard, he hits back harder. He's getting smarter, but he's not a tactician yet.
See, more than enough.
Not enough.
Superman? He's trained with Batman, Wonder Woman, and the Justice League. He's a calculated striker. He knows how to end fights quickly, not just win them. And if things get out of control, he holds back less than people realize. You might think Mark's raw savage nature gives him an edge, but Superman doesn't just fight. He does precision strikes with light speed and planet-breaking power behind every hit. Even in what they share, there is no competition. Mark has one of the hardest wills in modern superhero fiction. He fights when he knows he'll lose. He fights when he wants to give up. When Conquest nearly killed him, he got back up. When Omni-Man tore the planet apart, he chose mercy. That will is Viltrumite steel plus human compassion. But Superman has watched worlds die and kept hope alive. He's been mind controlled, tortured, turned into a god, made mortal, and never once stopped being Superman. His restraint is not weakness, it's control. He holds back every second to keep the planet safe. If his full will is unleashed, that's when entire timelines collapse. Mark has willpower. Superman is willpower. So let's imagine it. Let's say it's Earth. No prep, just the two of them. Mark doesn't wait and he flies in. The ground shatters behind him. He's ready. Superman stands calmly. No fear and no rage, just focus. Mark strikes first and he goes at it with a full speed punch. Superman doesn't move. Then a blur. One punch from Superman. Mark flies into the sky, into orbit, through the moon. But this is Invincible. He comes back, bleeding and angry. He fights with every ounce of will he has. But Superman, he adapts. He blocks faster, hits harder. Mark grabs his cape and Superman will turn and knock the breath from his lungs. And with one final hit, he ends it. Not fatally, just definitively. Because Superman doesn't kill unless he must. And Mark isn't an enemy. He's a soldier learning his place. But what if Mark kept evolving? Let's say Mark gets stronger and faster. Let's say he even surpasses Omni-Man. Maybe one day he reaches Thrag level. He gets smarter, starts fighting tactically, and gains decades of combat experience. Could he eventually rival Superman? Maybe. Even through it all, it ends with a maybe. If he trains for centuries, gets cosmic artifacts, and evolves past Viltrumite biology, he could one day end a fight in a stalemate. Because even with everything that Invincible can do, Superman's been doing that since the 1930s. In the end, Season 3 Invincible versus Superman? No. Invincible doesn't win. Not yet, at least. The boys have taken down corrupt heroes, exposed a mega corporation, and survived deathly fights. But what happens when they're dropped in a world where superheroes don't just kill, they execute? Will their hatred for superheroes sign their death warrant, or can they actually emerge victorious in the Invincible universe? Let's find out. Before we insert the boys into the Invincible universe, we need to know who they are. The boys are a group of undercover individuals who keep the superpowered people in check. Their goal is to prevent and avenge the illegal actions done by the Supes and Vought International.
Superheroes ain't always nice. They'll burn your entire family.
The ways they do this might not be the most ethical, as it often involves blackmail, trickery, and violence. But if it's to expose the lies and rip apart the system that allows heroes to get away with murder, they'll do anything it takes. The group consists of 5 people: Billy Butcher, the leader; Huey Campbell, the tech-savvy glue that holds the team together; Mother's Milk, the moral backbone of the group; Frenchie, the inventive wildcard; and Kimiko Miyashiro, the test subject turned warrior.
Name's Butcher. Billy Butcher.
You're a Fed? You don't sound like a Fed.
The group has variety, flavor, and the same hatred for the Supes to work well as a team. Though they may have different reasons for joining, their mission is the same. Butcher in particular is there to avenge his wife, Becca. He believes Homelander assaulted and killed her. As a former British Special Air Service operator, he brings his expert military knowledge, undercover operations, experience, and intelligence contacts to the group. He's fueled by his personal vengeance, hatred for all Supes, and a drive to destroy Vought International, the company that created Homelander and many other corrupt heroes.
I was in this oven here, did a little fist pump to celebrate, and then you turned up the temperature to see if you could burn my skin.
Butcher's as charming as he is cunning. He can talk almost anyone into anything, either by brute force or a pleasing smile. He's in a gray area, between a hero and a monster. He eventually finds out his wife is alive, but held in secret. On top of that, she has also given birth to Homelander's son, Ryan.
Becca, I'm your father. We are a family.
This news destroys Butcher, leading him into his villain arc. By the end of season 4, driven by pure grief and anger, he gives into his dark side and plans to commit superhero genocide, which includes killing Ryan. Huey is also in the group for a similar reason as Butcher. He was just a normal electronics store worker. That is, until a drugged up superhero named A-Train ran straight through his girlfriend Robin, leaving Huey holding her severed hands. Even worse, A-Train brushes off the incident as though he accidentally squashed an ant and that it was no big deal. Because of this, Huey joins the team hoping to avenge Robin. But unlike Butcher, his resentment evolves into moral discomfort as he sees A-Train show genuine remorse for his actions.
If it's worth running through a human being for.
The only difference between you and me is that I made a mistake. The shit that you did was on purpose.
Huey's empathetic, even connecting to Supes like Annie and Kimiko. This quality of his makes him the heart of the group. Besides this, his highly perceptive mind, tech knowledge, and leadership add value to the boys. Similar to Huey, Mother's Milk is also there for justice over revenge. He's a former Marine and a federal agent.
Who's this guy? The new lad, Huey. Huey, Mother's Milk.
No, my mother actually named me Mother's Milk.
Did she?
He grew up watching Vought destroy his family. His father died fighting them legally. He's there to stop Supes from hurting more innocent people like his family and secure the future of not only his daughter, but all the children of the next generation. Though in the show he doesn't have any powers, he does have them in the comics. He gets them through the Compound V passed from his mom to him, giving him his name. In both versions, he's tactical, has combat training, and a strong moral code. In fact, in the show, he actually does not use Compound V like the others and stays human by choice, displaying his strong ethics. Unlike Mother's Milk or Butcher, Frenchie isn't in the group primarily for revenge or justice. He's there for redemption. His past is littered with criminal jobs he took to survive. He needed them. He lived all his life on the run from his abusive father.
My father was a bipolar. One night when I was 10, he tried to smother me with a Hello Kitty duvet.
But now the same jobs he took to survive are like scars on his souls. He wants to change and do better. So he joins the team as a former gunman, Russian mobster, and a robber, but becomes a vigilante. Frenchie's previous work makes him an expert at weapons, explosives, and improvised technology. Furthermore, he's great at chemistry, infiltration, and different languages. He is extremely resourceful and thrives under pressure. In fact, if Frenchie wasn't there, the group wouldn't have seen as many successes as they have. His anchor to the group is Kimiko, someone he deeply falls falls for and someone that makes him a better person. Speaking of Kimiko, she is the only superpowered person on the team, at least in the show. She was abducted as a child and given Compound V to become a weapon. That is until she's rescued by the boys and becomes the final member of the group. Like the others, at first she seeks revenge. But as time passes, she fights to protect the innocent and reclaim the life that was stolen from her. Her powers are a mix of super strength, rapid healing, and enhanced reflexes. She's also trained in close combat, but this isn't what made Butcher accept Kimiko as a member. It was her sheer tenacity and loyalty. She even takes on Soldier Boy in season 3 and loses her powers for the group, but she does gain them back later. Overall, she's not much of a talker, but she's violent and incredibly valuable to the team. That concludes the lineup for the boys. Now, let's put them in the Invincible universe. Since the boys have a disadvantage as they're not superpowered, I'm going to take them with their Compound V powered abilities here. In the boys universe, Compound V is a serum that mutates organic compounds by granting them profound and strange characteristics. The serum is used by Vought International to transform ordinary humans to heroes.
Superheroes are not born, but made, in fact, created by a chemical serum, Compound V.
Eventually, even the boys take Compound V's temporary version, Tem V, to level the playing field between them and the Supes. All of the members, except Frenchie, who does not take Tem V, get enhanced strength and durability from it. Additionally, Butcher gets his heat vision, Huey gets the ability to teleport, and Kimiko retains her previous abilities. Now that the playing field is a bit more leveled, let's start off with our protagonist, Invincible. Invincible is one of the strongest characters in the show. His father is Omni-Man, so he has all the abilities of a Viltrumite. He can fly incredibly fast, has super strength, and is near invulnerable. On top of that, he's fought opponents way stronger than him and stacked up on battle experience. He was broken before and has learned from it. At the end of the day, Season 3 version of Invincible is clever, precise, and deadly.
Endurance 70%. And his strength 138%.
Against the boys, the main determining factor would be Invincible's durability. Frenchie could trigger explosives, Kimiko could land strong hits, or Huey could teleport behind him and attack. Though this may have been enough for regular Supes, this won't even make Invincible flinch. On top of this, Invincible can fly at supersonic speeds. So, though Butcher may try to use his lasers, Invincible can dodge easily. That's not all. Invincible is incredibly strong, so if he is able to destroy MM's advanced weaponry, punch the group through buildings, and snap their necks in half. But Invincible's not the type to kill too easily, so the battle would probably end with the boys mostly unconscious or injured, and Invincible would easily win. Another person who would crush the boys in battle would be Invincible's father, Omni-Man. He's a Viltrumite who was sent to Earth as an undercover soldier to destroy it from within.
Our most trusted officers were each given a planet to weaken. I was one of those lucky few.
If you think about it, he's the perfect kind of superhero the boys are looking to expose. Charming, protective, and kind on the outside, but a ruthless killer on the inside. Putting the boys in a fight with him would be like feeding him to the wolves. Even with Compound V, they'd fall short. Omni-Man is way stronger, more cunning, and more merciless than Invincible. If he deems them a threat, there's no warning, just death. The boys might be able to get a few hits in by perfectly planning the use of lasers, explosives, and teleportation, but he'd easily outpower them. This guy has erased entire civilizations by himself and fought armies stronger than the boys. So, the verdict is clear. Omni-Man would be the winner. Speaking of beings from outside the Earth, Alan the Alien is the next one to go up against the boys. He's from a planet called Unipa that has been taken over by the Viltrumites. A small number of his people escaped the Viltrumite invasion and they started breeding camps. These camps were also genetic enhancement programs. Alan was born there and he was the sole survivor of the experiments. Though not able to before, by the end of Season 3, Alan is able to take on and defeat even Viltrumites.
You are coming with us. Our prison scientists will cut you open until we find the source of your strength.
He possesses raw strength and power. He can take lots of damage and hit back twice as hard. The boys could try and ambush Alan. They could use advanced tech to fire at him, lasers, and punches, but he's already resisted this and much more before. All their attacks would be useless on him, but Alan's attacks would definitely defeat the boys. We've established that Alan can deliver attacks with explosive power, but Rexplode can deliver explosions themselves. As a member of the Guardians of the Globe, Rex is able to make explosives out of anything he touches.
I've got one thing left! My entire goddamn skeleton!
During battle, he often carries projectiles so that he can charge them up and use them as explosives. Unlike Omni-Man and Invincible, Rex can't fly at supersonic speeds or take large amounts of damage. This weakness can be exploited by the boys. Since Rex usually uses mid-range to far-ranged attacks, the boys can use their teamwork and strategy to defeat him. They could get Kimiko close enough to him so that she can land hard-hitting blows. Similarly, Huey with his teleportation can also engage in close combat and severely injure Rex. That's not all though. Frenchie could possibly rig something to either neutralize or absorb Rex's explosives, rendering him entirely defenseless. If they do all of this, the boys will have secured their first win. But it's no time to celebrate a win, as their next opponent is Battle Beast. He's a terrifyingly powerful alien that has even put Invincible to shame. He's far too strong, durable, and experienced. Battle Beast loves close combat and thrives in battle. We've seen him kill Viltrumites, survive near-death experiences, and easily destroy his opponents without even breaking a sweat. The power gap here is too large. Maybe Kimiko could try hitting him, but he's a close combat master. He'd kill her in seconds. Though he can't fly, he doesn't really need to, since he's impervious to most attacks. No amount of lasers, explosives, or flimsy hits would be enough for him. He'd simply crush the boys. It would just be a matter of how long he wants to play with them. And from what we've seen, he doesn't like to play with unworthy opponents. He likes to finish them off quickly.
This battle is beneath me. There is no honor in killing insects.
Battle Beast is undoubtedly great at destroying things, but Adam Eve is great at building them. So let's talk about her next. Her powers allow her to manipulate matter, but there is a catch. She can only manipulate non-sentient matter in her regular state due to the mental blocks that were placed when she got her powers. But even without manipulating sentient matter, she's very strong. She can materialize massive weapons to throw at her enemies, create barriers to shield herself, and create armor for close combat. She can fly, attack from a distance, and even take close hits. She could easily trap the boys in unbreakable prisons. She doesn't need to fight dirty. She can be precise, methodical, clean, and still win. Now, if the boys somehow managed to almost kill Eve, her subconscious locks would be broken. This would allow her to manipulate even sentient matter. At that point, she's basically omnipotent and can rearrange their bodies on a molecular level.
I see it all now. Every single molecule around us. I could rearrange your cells to make you whole new people.
With the boys going up against basically a god, there's no hope for survival here. Similar to Eve, Robot or Rudy can also build stuff, just manually with his knowledge and tech. He is a technological genius. He used to fight using only a robot, but after getting a physical body, he fights inside a suit. Rudy's an expert in AI, battle tactics, and analysis. His physical body can't fly, blast off at supersonic speeds, and it can take damage. This can be used by the boys to strategically plan an attack to get Rudy out of his suit and into a close combat situation. Kimiko and Huey could deliver lethal blows while Butcher could melt through his tech. On top of that, Frenchie could hack into Rudy's devices and disrupt his systems. This way, the boys could win, but there is no hard answer here. The battle could really go either way. Rudy is a genius and a master strategist at that. He could have backups and fight through proxies, which would give him enough time to analyze his enemies and figure out ways to kill them. This would perhaps be the only tie in this list, as both sides are matched in power. So unless the boys come up with a lethal one-hit blow that ambushes Rudy before he figures it out, they would lose. Unlike Rudy's physical body though, Immortal can take lots of damage and survive even if he's killed. He just needs his head to be connected to his neck again.
Cecil couldn't bring him back. Cecil's an idiot, and he's not called the Immortal for nothing.
He is the leader of the Guardians of the Globe, and rightfully so. Immortal is super durable, powerful, and has centuries of battle experience. He's also been killed like 100 times, so he's not afraid of dying, that's for sure. On top of that, he can fly at a high speed. The boys would struggle to defeat him mainly because of his durability. Kimiko, Huey, and Butcher can hit him hard, but not hard enough to significantly injure him. Even Butcher's heat vision likely won't incapacitate him. Huey can try to teleport, but Immortal can catch him quickly and knock him out before he teleports again. It's safe to say Immortal would win this fight, but there are a few ways the boys could possibly win. The best way would be to prepare an ambush, immobilize him with a drug, and decapitate him immediately. Though this wouldn't kill him, as long as they keep the head and body be separate, Immortal is out of the fight. One of the few people who has died as much as Immortal has is his wife, Duplicate. Her powers are pretty simple. She can create clones of herself instantly. Each of her clones are identical to her, but can act independently. The only way Duplicate can be killed is if all of her bodies are killed. Her ability is mostly useful as a distraction or tactical advantage, not brute force. The boys could win this fight. Duplication isn't enough to be superhuman strength, speed, or combat ability. Kimiko, Butcher, and Huey could kill her clones. On top of that, their teleportation and heat vision could severely injure her. If the boys work together, they can defeat Duplicate and secure the win. But let's not forget that she could be hiding one of her clones away from the battleground, and so would still survive.
Live through a copy, just in case. I was so tired of dying. I was gonna walk away, become someone else.
Our next contender can't clone himself, but his sheer strength is enough for him to come out on top. I'm talking about none other than Conquest. Conquest is an elite Viltrumite soldier. He's kind of like Battle Beast in the aspect that he enjoys the fight and bloodshed. He's incredibly powerful, definitely stronger than Invincible, and was the mentor of Omni-Man. Like any other Viltrumite, he has abilities of super strength, flight, speed, and invulnerability. But he's definitely not like any other Viltrumite because he possesses these same abilities at a higher level. Like his name suggests, he's a conqueror, one who's terrifyingly good at his job. He's brought countless civilizations and planets to their knees. The power gap is simply astronomical here. The boys could scheme and strategize all they want, but his raw strength would overpower them. Furthermore, with his speed, he could rip through the entire team in mere moments. He's also a butcher, not in name, but in action. He loves breaking down his opponents physically and mentally. He wouldn't just defeat the boys, he'd massacre them.
Oh, such a strong bond. Viltrumites have nothing like this. It's a weakness, really.
So, there you have it. The boys in the Invincible universe. Would they survive? Well, they would if they only had to go against the mid to low tier heroes, but that's not realistic. The Invincible world is wildly unpredictable. They'd have to face at least one incredibly powerful opponent like Invincible, Omni-Man, or Conquest, especially if they still plan to carry on their same mission in this world. So ultimately, the answer is no. Even if they're powered up on Compound V, or even if they fight dirty, most of their enemies outrank them in sheer strength. I thought I understood power scaling until I analyzed Omni-Man versus Gamma Jack. What I discovered completely changed everything I believed about superhero fights. So in this video, I'm going to reveal why it isn't even close, show you the one factor that makes victory impossible for one of the characters, and expose the shocking difference that ends this fight before it even begins. And trust me, what you're about to learn will change how you look at every superhero battle comparison. Now, here's what most people don't realize about Omni-Man's true power level. Omni-Man has superhuman strength, is able to easily lift immense amounts of weight, tear through virtually any matter, and only continues to gradually grow stronger the more he struggles and ages. But that's just the surface. I've analyzed his most casual feats, and they are terrifying. Omni-Man was punching Mark so hard that he was shaking entire mountains and doing this repeatedly. In fact, Omni-Man was sending Mark all over the planet, causing earthquakes each time he landed. And remember, he was holding back against Mark. But here's where it gets crazy. This wasn't even serious combat. Nolan was trying to convince Mark to join him, not even kill him. When I realized the implications of this restraint, everything clicked. The sheer scale of destruction from casual punches reveals power levels that transcend human comprehension. Each impact generated seismic activity across multiple tectonic plates. We're talking about force output that rivals natural disasters, delivered repeatedly without visible effort or strain. He's got super speed, is able to close tremendous distances in seconds, and likewise react to the fastest of opponents. This speed advantage becomes the key to understanding why Gamma Jack has zero chance. But there's something even more shocking about Viltrumite travel capabilities that most people miss. The numbers are so extreme that they break conventional physics. I'll reveal it after we examine what Gamma Jack brings to this fight. Now, let me show you exactly what Gamma Jack can do. Gamma Jack's superpower was the ability to create controlled bursts of radiation, from focused burns to complete disintegration. On paper, that sounds devastating. His power came with specific parameters that defined its effectiveness. Radiation bursts, Gamma Jack's primary superpower was the ability to create controlled bursts of radiation from focused burns to complete disintegration. The maximum range of this high-intensity burst was 100 meters before a sharp intensity fall-off. Here's where things get interesting. The 100-meter effective range represents optimal combat distance for terrestrial superhero engagements. Within this envelope, Gamma Jack could theoretically engage most opponents with devastating force projection. Complete disintegration suggests atomic-level disruption capabilities. I need to show you something about Gamma Jack's threat level that changes everything. When it comes to raw power, Gamma Jack ranks just below Mr. Incredible on the official scale. Just to reiterate, Mr. Incredible scored a 9.1 threat rating, and Gamma Jack was right behind him with a 7.9, making him one of the top superheroes in the verse. He's literally one of the strongest heroes in his universe. This threat rating places Gamma Jack among the elite combat operatives of his era. The Incredibles universe maintains detailed power scaling assessments, suggesting sophisticated understanding of superhuman capabilities. A 7.9 rating indicates planet-level defensive value. Radiokinetic flight. Using his radioactive powers, Gamma Jack could achieve flight. While flying, he left a faint trail of green-tinged gamma radiation behind him. This gives him aerial mobility advantages. The radiation trail creates tactical complications. Stealth approaches become impossible, but it also provides area denial capabilities. Enemy pursuers would face continuous radiation exposure during aerial engagement scenarios. But what most people don't know about Gamma Jack's psychology will shock you. There's a critical weakness that would doom him against any serious opponent, but first, let me reveal that speed feat I mentioned earlier. Before I do that though, if you're enjoying this video so far and want to join my Discord server filled with other comic fans, click the link in the description now. This is the moment everything changes. When he left Earth, he decided to travel to another planet, and that journey took him about a week. But this wasn't just any planet. This is a planet in the Virgo supercluster, which is 65 million light years away from the Earth. He traveled that span in just about a week, making him massively faster than the speed of light.
You must learn what makes me.
Let me put this in perspective for you. The mathematics here are staggering. 65 million light years in 1 week translates to approximately 3.4 billion times faster than light speed. For comparison, information traveling at light speed would take 65 million years to cover the same distance. Gamma Jack operates at human reaction speeds. His nervous system processes information at roughly 100 meters per second. Omni-Man moves at significant fractions of light speed, billions of times faster than human cognitive processing. When I calculated the math, I couldn't believe the results. By the time Gamma Jack's brain processes that Omni-Man has moved, Nolan could have circled the Earth thousands of times. The human visual system requires approximately 13 milliseconds to process basic movement detection. In 13 milliseconds, moving at a billion-fold light speed, Omni-Man could traverse the distance between Earth and Mars multiple times. The temporal mismatch eliminates any possibility of tactical response or defensive measures. Omni-Man put down the Guardian even faster. They didn't even have the chance to react to his attacks. He's well faster than Invincible during their first fight. Invincible is legitimately moving in slow motion. The Guardians were Earth's premier superhero team, and they appeared frozen relative to his movement. But here's what really made me realize this matchup is impossible. Red Rush was a speedster, and even he couldn't react. Like, he was blatantly faster than Red Rush, and he couldn't even react to him grabbing his head and bashing it together with another Guardians. Whereas in the show, they're pretty relative in speed, with Red Rush being slightly faster. If a super speedster can't track Omni-Man, what chance does a human have? Red Rush represented Earth's fastest defender, optimized specifically for velocity-based combat and reconnaissance. His superhuman reflexes and accelerated perception should have provided adequate reaction time against conventional threats. The fact that Red Rush appeared motionless relative to Omni-Man's combat speed demonstrates power scaling that transcends terrestrial superheroes entirely. When dedicated speedsters cannot track your movement, you operate on cosmic scales. Now, I need to show you that critical flaw I mentioned. The NSA files also describe him as a super supremacist, believing that supers are a superior race, and that he's frequently prone to tyrannical and megalomaniacal impulses. This arrogance would prevent him from recognizing the true threat. The supremacist mindset creates catastrophic blind spots in threat assessment. Gamma Jack's worldview assumes his power tier represents the apex of possible opposition. Cosmic level threats simply don't register within his conceptual framework. But it gets worse. Choosing to prioritize women he finds most attractive in a dangerous scenario and then working down the list, looking down at anyone he finds unattractive and saving them last. His tactical decisions are based on attraction, not strategy. This represents fundamental combat dysfunction. Professional military engagement requires objective threat prioritization based on tactical necessity, not personal preference. Gamma Jack's decision-making process would collapse under serious operational pressure. When I discovered this next detail, I realized Gamma Jack isn't just outmatched, he's fundamentally unprepared for serious combat. He gets so damn bad horny when encountering a female supervillain and nonchalantly describes his frustration and difficulty with having to kill them, and the fact that unlike every other hero in these tapes, he is incredibly open about the fact that he just straight up kills people. An opponent who can't maintain tactical focus would be obliterated. The psychological profile reveals someone who treats superhero work as personal gratification rather than professional responsibility. His casual approach to lethal force suggests overconfidence born from facing inferior opposition. Compare this to Omni-Man's clinical efficiency. In addition to having all the generic powers and abilities of a Viltrumite, Omni-Man ranks among the most powerful Viltrumites to ever exist, physically stronger than most and a master combatant with centuries of experience. 2,000 years of conquest experience versus a distracted Golden Age hero. Omni-Man possesses immense longevity. This stems from a decelerated aging process, gradually aging slower the older he gets, allowing him to retain his youthful health, vitality, conditioning, and appearance for an incalculably long time. At over 2,000 years old, he has only begun to show signs of aging while still physically performing in his prime. Millennia of combat refinement versus decades of casual superheroics. But here's the factor that makes this completely impossible, and it's not what you think. Remember that 100-meter effective range thing I mentioned? His attacks were effective up to 100 meters, after which the intensity obviously dropped pretty sharply. This became meaningless against faster-than-light opponents. Let me show you why. If Omni-Man approaches at even 1% of light speed, he covers 100 meters in 0.000000033 seconds. Hopefully I got that right. Human reaction time is roughly 0.25 seconds for visual stimuli. The temporal mathematics create impossible scenarios. Visual processing requires light to travel from Omni-Man's position to Gamma Jack's eyes, then neural transmission to the brain, cognitive recognition, decision-making, and finally motor response initiation. By the time Gamma Jack sees Omni-Man, processes the threat, and initiates his radiation burst, Nolan has already crossed the engagement envelope 7.5 million times. This isn't even close. It's mathematically impossible. The 100-meter range assumes both combatants operate within similar time frames. When one participant exists in accelerated temporal reference frames, range advantages become theoretical abstractions. He is nigh invulnerability, immune to all forms of illness or contamination, and able to withstand physical harm from all but the strongest of dangers. But even if radiation is somehow connected, Viltrumite physiology operates on cosmic scales. While still needing air, Omni-Man can endure weeks holding his breath and likewise can survive the vacuum of space unprotected, allowing for unaided interstellar travel.
I stepped when I am not there. I sleep beneath the golden. As you go down, it is neither stop. When I am on a pedestal.
Space exposure includes radiation levels far exceeding anything terrestrial sources produce. Cosmic radiation represents energy densities that dwarf planetary sources. Solar wind carries charged particles at hundreds of kilometers per second. Galactic cosmic rays achieve energies measured in joules per individual particle. Here's something that shocked me when I researched Viltrumite weaknesses. Viltrumite skin is very hard to penetrate due to its incredibly fast healing factor. However, the healing factor is broken down when exposed to intense heat. This requires stellar level temperatures. Stellar core temperatures reach 15 million Kelvin. Surface temperatures of massive stars exceed 50,000 Kelvin. Gamma Jack's radiation operates at human-scale energy outputs designed for terrestrial matter disruption. The gap between terrestrial radiation and stellar heat is astronomical, quite literally. Nuclear weapons achieve temperatures of roughly 100 million Kelvin for microseconds. Even these extreme conditions represent a fraction of stellar core energy densities. Gamma Jack's radiation operates at human-scale energy outputs. But what really convinced me this matchup is impossible was examining Omni-Man's healing factor. He has an enhanced healing factor, able to recover from all damage he does sustain, except the most grievous harm to his heart or brain, in anywhere from minutes to a single day, depending on the level of harm, with no lingering side effects. Even theoretical damage would heal faster than Gamma Jack could sustain offensive pressure. The regenerative timeline creates tactical impossibilities. If Gamma Jack somehow connected with radiation bursts, the damage would heal within minutes. His maximum rate of fire couldn't match Viltrumite's cellular regeneration rates. He has nigh limitless stamina, able to continue his exertions for long periods of time with no effects to his performance, and endure any damage he does sustain unhindered. Unlimited endurance versus human-scale energy reserves. Let me show you why Omni-Man's performance against Earth's premier superhero team proves this matchup is impossible. His joints possess exceptional flexibility, enabling him to perform incredible feats such as effortlessly evading most attacks and maintaining flawless coordination. Even Red Rush, the speedster, couldn't avoid Nolan's attacks. The Guardian Massacre provides crucial combat data for analyzing cosmic tier engagement scenarios. Earth's defenders represented diverse power sets, coordinated teamwork, and decades of combined experience. Aside from Red Rush, Immortal does have the best feats on Omni-Man, and he was the first one that Omni-Man tried to go after, so if Omni-Man views him as his greatest threat, the Immortal possessed comparable strength and centuries of combat experience. Even with superhuman durability, millennia of experience, and tactical awareness of Omni-Man's capabilities, the Immortal fell within seconds. His comparative power levels exceeded anything Gamma Jack could achieve. The tactical implications became even more devastating when examining team coordination factors. The Guardians operated with established communication protocols, predetermined tactical formations, and complementary power combinations. Despite every advantage, numerical superiority, defensive positioning, coordinated attacks, and diverse abilities, the entire team fell before they could mount effective resistance. Individual heroes operating alone face exponentially worse odds. The combat experience differential represents another insurmountable barrier. 2 millennia of conquest operations across multiple star systems provides tactical knowledge that terrestrial heroes cannot match. Gamma Jack operated during Earth's golden age, facing human-scale threats with comprehensible limitations. Viltrumite military doctrine emphasizes planetary subjugation through overwhelming force application. Combat training assumes opponents possess diverse energy-based abilities, advanced technology, and coordinated resistance strategies. One of the more important feats listed on Operation Chronos records is that Gamma Jack successfully destroyed Omnidroid version 5, a very deadly combat robot designed by Syndrome to specifically kill the superheroes he's based. Gamma Jack's greatest victory was against 1960s era technology. The Omnidroid represents human engineering optimized for golden age superhuman capabilities. Syndrome's understanding of super abilities was limited to terrestrial power levels and human-scale tactical scenarios. The progression from Omnidroid 5 to Omnidroid 6 demonstrates technological advancement within terrestrial parameters. The leap to cosmic tier alien physiology involves exponentially greater capability gaps. However, he was later killed by the upgraded model, the Omnidroid 6. To put that into perspective, Mr. Incredible. Human technology evolution overwhelmed Gamma Jack's combat capabilities. But here's what happens when cosmic tier movement meets atmospheric physics. He flew through a continent-sized city fast enough to where he was literally causing nuclear-level destruction as he flew around. Basically, how that works is that as he reached light speed, or even just under the speed of light, Nolan was hitting molecules and atoms in the air with so much speed and force that it's causing nuclear fusion leveling continent-sized cities. casual movement creates nuclear-level destruction. The atmospheric physics involved in near-light speed travel create conditions that exceed nuclear weapon effects. Air molecules compressed by relativistic movement achieve fusion-level energy densities. Continental-scale destruction from casual flight patterns demonstrates power levels that transcend conventional superhero conflicts. The battlefield itself becomes a weapon through atmospheric manipulation. Omni-Man's approach would generate sonic booms measured in megatons, electromagnetic pulse effects, and atmospheric displacement equivalent to Category 5 hurricane conditions. The pressure wave alone would incapacitate any human observer before visual contact occurs. Gamma Jack's positioning and targeting became irrelevant when the engagement environment exceeds survivable parameters. His energy blast gave him long-range offensive power. Unlike many suits who need to get up close, Gamma Jack could eliminate targets from a distance with surgical precision. This advantage disappears when facing opponents who can instantly close any distance while generating hurricane force winds. Let me reveal the next factor that makes this impossible. His powers are that he can fire bursts of radiation, which is NSA files described as ranging from focused burns to complete disintegration. Disintegration sounds impressive until you examine the energy requirements. Radiation-based disintegration works by disrupting atomic bonds through electromagnetic interference. The energy required to break molecular structures at range demands massive power output focused through precise delivery systems. Against cosmic tier physiology that survives planetary impacts, this approach faces insurmountable resistance thresholds. Viltrumite's cellular density exceeds terrestrial material properties by orders of magnitude. The binding energy of superhuman tissue would require exponentially greater radiation intensity to achieve disintegration effects. Human-scale power sources cannot generate the necessary energy densities. But here's what really sealed it for me. The sustainability factor heavily favors cosmic tier combatants in extended engagements. While Gamma Jack must manage every expenditure and potentially faces fatigue, Omni-Man maintains peak performance indefinitely. The recovery capabilities also demonstrate the futility of attrition-based strategies. Any theoretical damage would heal faster than sustainable offensive pressure could be maintained. When I visualized what this engagement would actually look like, the impossibility became clear. Gamma Jack requires optimal positioning at a 100-meter range with clear sight lines for targeting. The human cognitive architecture cannot process information at the rates necessary to track faster than light movement. Visual cortex processing, decision-making pathways, and motor response systems operate at biochemical speeds. Omni-Man could traverse that distance thousands of times before human visual processing could track his movement. The engagement would end before Gamma Jack's nervous system could process that it had begun. But here's what makes this even more devastating. The psychological impact alone would overwhelm any tactical planning. Facing opponents who violate basic assumptions about physics creates cognitive overload that no human training can prepare you for. The fundamental mismatch in operational tempo creates scenarios where traditional combat becomes meaningless. While Gamma Jack operates on human-scale decision cycles, Omni-Man functions at near instantaneous levels across multiple dimensional scales. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to see everyone that could kill Dr. Doom, click it now. Everyone thinks Conquest vs Thanos would be an insane battle, but it's not even close. And I'm gonna break down every brutal reason why, starting with where they come from, because origins shape everything. Conquest is a Viltrumite, an alien race evolved around extreme selective pressure. He is the result of an empire built on domination and war, an oppressive world that demands conquest or extinction. From the moment he could walk, Conquest was taught that strength defined worth. Weakness was stamped out early. He matured into the perfect soldier, ruthless, efficient, utterly without remorse. Viltrumites are functionally gods, near invulnerable, faster than light, with strength that could shatter planets, and they can fly through stars without breaking a sweat. But even among such a species, Conquest is different. He's not just another soldier in the Viltrumite Empire. He's the exterminator, the ancient one. He was the mentor of his former protege, the Great Nolan, otherwise known as Omni-Man. A living reminder that even among monsters, some are too cruel to keep around. Scarred, one-eyed, and far older than Omni-Man, Conquest is the battle-hardened living memorial of the Empire's darkest days. Unlike many of his peers who act under the pretense of duty or ideological loyalty, he does not hide behind any cause. While he is loyal to the Empire in function, he views the Viltrumite mission as nothing more than an excuse to do what he truly loves, which is fighting, killing, and causing pain. Victory is not his goal, and what he seeks is the sheer thrill of resistance, the satisfaction of breaking strong opponents, and the pleasure of watching others suffer. During a centuries-long campaign to bring the galaxy under Viltrum control, Conquest carved out a name synonymous with devastation. He razed cities with a flick of a wrist, disintegrated armies with casual ease, and pursued fleeing populations across star systems. He derived genuine satisfaction from acts of violence, the fear in enemy eyes, the ragged breath of soldiers crushed beneath his boots. Weakness was stamped out early. He matured into the perfect soldier, ruthless, efficient, utterly without remorse. He was shown to have been one of the very few who actively participated in and survived the Great Purge. Viltrum isolated him not because he failed, but because he enjoyed it too much. He doesn't fight for the Empire. He doesn't fight for glory. He fights because it's all he's ever known. Every inch of his body is marked by centuries of war, of planets razed and civilizations erased. He's strength without mercy, fury without limits, the equivalent of a warhead with a pulse. When the Empire is dying and they need a problem solved permanently, they send Conquest. He serves as the Viltrumites' fundamental nuclear option, deployed only when maximum force and absolute ruthlessness are considered necessary. And when he shows up on Earth, he doesn't negotiate. He doesn't pause. He moves with a single-minded purpose: to break the resistance so thoroughly it never rises again. He flies straight into battle, ripping through heroes like tissue. Invincible, beaten within inches of death.
Killing him?
Adam Eve, brutally torn apart. He doesn't even bat an eyelid to almost ripping Oliver, a literal child, into two. He is a ruthless and battle-tested veteran with unmatched strength and skill. Every fight is a playground to him, and he treats his opponents as nothing more than toys to be broken or manipulated. Conquest thrives on chaos, and he enjoys mocking his enemies in the middle of battle. He is both talkative and cruel, and often peppers his taunts with sarcasm and twisted encouragement. He torments others emotionally in order to make fights more exciting, urging them to fight harder by threatening those they care about. During his brutal confrontation with Invincible, Conquest insulted him constantly, pushing him to become more violent. He even pretended to thank him after seemingly killing Adam Eve, as it meant he could finally fight without holding back.
I want to thank you, Mark. Really.
He laughed at Invincible's grief, even while being beaten to death, grinning through shattered teeth and throwing headbutts until his skull was destroyed. His dry, sarcastic sense of humor hardly ever fades, and he is known to joke about even his own suffering. He once simply remarked that he takes the good with the bad after being torn apart in battle. Conquest is cruel beyond measure, slaughtering the innocent not out of duty, but simply to provoke more fury in his opponents. He acknowledges courage when he sees it, and he even praises Invincible's bravery, along with the efforts of Oliver and Adam Eve. He can grow angered when his opponents match and manage to outwit him in combat. In the end, though, he recognizes when he is beaten and accepts it without protest. Beneath his violent exterior lies something colder and more bitter. In a rare moment of sincerity, Conquest admits that he has grown tired of being a weapon used over and over again. His life of inflicting death and destruction has left him emotionally distant, even among his own people. He says that others fear him and that he does not have a true name, only a function and a stark title. Though he covers this with sarcasm and laughter, his words suggest isolation, exhaustion, and deep resentment over what he has become. But it is masked to perfection, and all that is left is the exterminator in him. He doesn't want to dominate, he wants to disable, to break, to destroy. He's not evil because of ideology, he's evil because he likes it. Conquest is the embodiment of violence, destruction, and sadistic pleasure. Now, let's turn to Thanos. Thanos was born on Titan, one of Saturn's moons, as a frost giant-like anomaly among the Eternals of Titan. As a child, he was grotesquely deformed, his skin purplish and his body massive and hulking, earning the fear of his peers even before his intellect revealed itself. But the alien appearance held a mind that would become one of the most coldly rational and obsessive in the universe. Feared for his strength, but hated for his mind. Unlike Conquest, Thanos wasn't forged in war. He was born into intellect. Cold, calculating, obsessive. He was fascinated with entropy and decay. From his earliest days, he poured himself over the ancient Titan archives, devouring knowledge about cosmic balance, thermodynamics, the cycle of life and death, and the power of death. He studied the fundamental laws of the universe and then decided they were wrong. His grand solution? He could fix them. Thanos' objective was to bring stability to the universe by wiping out half of all life at every level, no matter what it took him and what the cost was. As he believed, his massive population would inevitably use up the universe's entire supply of resources and perish. To complete this goal, Thanos set about hunting down all the Infinity Stones, as the combined force of the stones would grant sufficient power.
And when we faced extinction, I offered a solution.
Genocide.
At random. Dispassionate fare to rich and poor alike. They called me a madman. And what I predicted came to pass. With all 6 stones, I could simply snap my fingers. They would all cease to exist. I call that mercy.
Thanos, after a series of failed alliances, made the decision to seek and procure the stones himself. He began by forcing Aetri to create the Infinity Gauntlet for him so that he would have been able to wield the power of the stones safely. Thanos then engaged in a ferocious crusade in order to obtain the Infinity Stones. During his mission, both Thanos and his Black Order invaded multiple planets and slaughtered thousands to gain the stones, including Loki and the Asgardians. This quest even forced Thanos to sacrifice his beloved Gamora in order to take the Soul Stone. Thanos soon found himself challenged by the alliances of the entire universe's greatest heroes, which included the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy. However, despite facing off against the powerfully combined opposition and the wrath of Thor, Thanos still ultimately triumphed as he completed the Infinity Gauntlet, using it to finally complete his goal through the snap, which resulted in half of all life in the universe being wiped out with a mere snap of his fingers. But Thanos is not just a genius, and don't be fooled by his purple color. He is a nihilist who worships death as a lover, a philosopher who sees extinction as mercy. He doesn't just want to kill, he wants to make killing mean something. When Thanos wipes out half of existence, he doesn't grin, he carries it with solemnity, viewing the act not as celebration, but as sacrifice. He meditates on the weight of his decision, whispers, perfectly balanced, as all things should be, and watches sunsets, convinced that he has brought cosmic peace. His victory seemed absolute. After the snap in Infinity War, he retires to a lonely planet, perched among the stars, watching life's remnants flicker, convinced his mission is complete. That is, until heroes rally in Endgame, steal the stones across time, and use them to reverse his action. This obviously prompted him to hunt those who dare defy him, culminating in tens of thousands of alternate Thanos armies stepping through the quantum portal. Yet, even in the final confrontation, he meets the wrath of the Avengers with stoic efficiency. Though ultimately Stark defeats him with another snap, his philosophy and myth endure. In the comics, he resurfaces repeatedly. And there, this philosophical obsession is intrinsic. He trains relentlessly, pursuing mastery of telekinesis, energy manipulation, immortality, cosmic awareness, and martial skill, preparing himself as both scientist and warrior. He studied the cosmos, mastering technology and mysticism, traveling across the galaxy to gather artifacts and allies, while his growing ideology isolated him from Titan's other Eternals, who branded him insane and ultimately exiled him. In the MCU, his path is somewhat streamlined yet thematically identical. His feats stretch beyond conventional comparison. He has held the Infinity Gauntlet in his hands and held enough power to snap his fingers. What's more impressive is that he lived to tell the tale. But it doesn't stop there. He fought the Hulk to a bloody standstill on Sakaar, battered Silver Surfer, and at his peak, even outmaneuvered Mephisto. He saves his cosmic soul and manipulates one of Marvel's most metaphysically powerful beings. He goes against even gods like Thor and Odin, and wins. He triumphs over the Elders of the Universe and later plots to seize the Infinity Gauntlet from the Celestials, taking on cosmic superpowers with planning and raw might. When he has the Infinity Gauntlet, he's omnipotent. He snapped away 50% of all life. Instantly, universally, with no resistance. He's not just strong, he's transcendent. Throughout all depictions, his origin is unified, born malformed and brilliant, rejected by his own people. He turns that rejection into purpose, believing the universe itself to be flawed. And only he, with his mind and madness, has the clarity to heal it. He is not fueled by hate or conquest, but by obsession. The belief that extinction can deliver salvation, the suffering can be ended with death, that balance is worth any price. His strength is physical, but his true power lies in his intellect over empathy, of logic over love. He is the embodiment of what happens when a twisted mind meets good intention.
Thought by eliminating half of life, the other half would thrive. But you've shown me that's impossible. And as long as there are those that remember what was, there will always be those that are unable to accept what can be.
So let's break it down. In mind and strategy, there simply is no competition. Conquest is brutality personified, a tactician only in the most instinctual way. He knows how to kill, break, and rip apart armies. He's experienced, yeah, but not strategic. He doesn't lay traps. He doesn't plan long term. He charges in, confident that force is always enough. He wins because others can't match his savagery. Thanos is a chess master playing in 12 dimensions. He doesn't just win fights, he ends wars before they begin. He manipulates enemies, dismantles dismantles empires, corrupts heroes, and exploits gods. He planned the destruction of his homeworld before he could legally vote. He's outsmarted the cosmic hierarchy more than once. He has deceived death itself. In Infinity, he takes on the Avengers and fleets of armies all at once and manipulates them into fighting each other. The verdict? Thanos wins decisively. Moving on to strength and durability, Conquest has raw strength. He flies through buildings, rips people apart, punches holes through mountains, and laughs while doing it. He can go toe-to-toe with Invincible and Omni-Man at the same time and still dominate. His durability is extreme. You have to detonate a moon on him to slow him down. Even then, he keeps going. Thanos, on the other hand, he has cosmic strength. He has stood against Thor with the power gem and won. He's taken hits from the Hulk like they were mosquito bites. He survived point-blank blasts from Black Bolt and kept moving. He's been stabbed through the chest by Odin's spear and grinned. He tanks reality warping energy without flinching. Conquest doesn't mind a punch from a Viltrumite. Thanos takes a punch from Eternity and laughs. But what happens when we look at speed? Thanos rarely ever moves, but even here, Conquest would have a disadvantage. Conquest has faster than light travel, reflexes that can match anyone in the Invincible universe, and the ability to react and kill mid-flight before his enemies can blink. All of this may be true, but this would pale in comparisons to Thanos. Thanos doesn't often showcase speed, but that's because he doesn't need to. He has battled Silver Surfer, who moves at faster than light speeds, and kept up. He's outmaneuvered Beta Ray Bill and Thor, who can cross galaxies in seconds. People think Thanos is slow because he chooses to walk, not because he has to. He wins this too just because of his cosmic scale feats. He has, after all, been a formidable villain to many heroes and gods alike. Conquest has raw physicality. He's not a power user, no energy projection, no mind attacks, no manipulation of space-time. He is the hammer and the battlefield is the nail. But Thanos, even without the gauntlet, has got energy projection that can rival with Celestials. But that isn't the end of his arsenal. He has telepathy resistance so high that Professor X barely scratches him, matter manipulation when he is empowered by cosmic artifacts, technology from black hole bombs to reality-sealing force fields, access to magic, science, and tech from across the universe. Conquest would fall short just because he would believe his body is enough to win. If you want to win a fist fight, Conquest might make it brutal, but if you want to win a war, Thanos brings everything. It gives him a massive advantage. Now we come to willpower and mentality. Conquest is relentless. He doesn't break, he doesn't yield. The more pain he takes, the more brutal he becomes. He's an addict to violence, and even dying in battle would be worth it to him. But Thanos, he's not just relentless, he's inevitable. His will is a cosmic constant. He stood alone against the Avengers, the X-Men, the Celestials, and reality itself, and still move forward. He doesn't enjoy pain, he endures it because it's necessary, because the universe needs him to be what it cannot, uncompromising. Conquest may love battle, but the foundational beliefs come from being savage. But Thanos doesn't love war. In fact, he may even avoid it if need be. He fights because he deems it necessary. But what if Thanos is stripped away of all of his extra powers? Here we come to their combat styles. Conquest is savage in his style, brutal hand to hand. He fights with teeth bared, fist flying, unhinged, and unrelenting. He's like Battle Beast dialed to 11, tearing arms off mid-punch, fighting dirty, and going straight for the kill. Thanos is precise. He's trained in every known form of combat across the galaxy. He's fought gods, demons, immortals. He uses strength as a tool, not a crutch. When he fights, it's to end you, not just to beat you. Conquest will brawl until his fists are bone. Thanos will shatter your spine in 2 moves. Let's imagine their fight in 2 parts. First, let's say Thanos wasn't just himself. Let's say he had everything. Let's say he wielded the Infinity Gauntlet. The Infinity Gauntlet isn't a power boost. It's not a suit. It's not a weapon. It's a cosmic override. Each stone controls a fundamental aspect of existence.
6 elemental crystals hurtling across the virgin universe. These Infinity Stones each control an essential aspect of existence.
Space, reality, power, soul, mind, and time.
The Power Stone, which has infinite strength, enough to shatter galaxies. The Time Stone, which can control, reverse, or erase time itself. The Space Stone, which allows its user to be everywhere and anywhere all at once. The Mind Stone, which can control, erase, or rewrite sentient thought. The Reality Stone, which can alter the laws of physics, logic, and nature. And finally, the Soul Stone, which dominates life and death. With all 6, Thanos becomes a god, not figuratively, not symbolically, literally. Let's be generous. Let's imagine Conquest survives the first 5 seconds. seconds, which he wouldn't. But for the sake of argument, let's imagine he dodges a beam of cosmic power that annihilates an entire star system. Let's say he closes the distance, grabs Thanos by the throat, and roars like he's about to land the killing blow. Thanos is patient. Conquest cannot phase him. He waits for the right time. Then Thanos stops him. Conquest freezes mid-roar. Thanos rewinds the fight and watches it again. He splits Conquest into infinite versions across space, collapsing them back into a broken heap. He alters reality, turning Conquest's own Viltrumite physiology into glass. Or he simply snaps and deletes Conquest from the multiverse. There is nothing Conquest can do. He doesn't have speed to outrun omnipresence. He doesn't have strength to match infinite force. He doesn't have the will to resist mental domination, and he certainly doesn't have dimensional resistance to tank a universal rewrite. Conquest doesn't lose. He ceases to exist. At the end of the day, Conquest was made to test worlds. Thanos, when he is with the gauntlet, rebuilds them. He doesn't fight Conquest, he edits him. And even if Conquest survives by some impossible miracle, Thanos could trap him in a time loop like he did to Dormammu. He would make Conquest relive his own death over and over again. Not for days, not for centuries, forever. Because the Infinity Gauntlet doesn't make Thanos unbeatable. It makes him unchallenged. There's no clash, no back and forth, no war, just a thought and then silence. But okay, let's not make Thanos so overpowered. Let's go back and strip Thanos of his Infinity Gauntlet. It's just a dead world cracked by time. No civilians, no armies, no tech, just them. Conquest lands first, a crimson streak through the sky. He cracks the planet beneath his boots. His eyes burn with fury. His smile already forming. He doesn't speak, he launches. Thanos stands still, calculated. The first punch from Conquest breaks the ground beneath them. Thanos slides back, wiping blood from his lip. He nods, then he responds. One punch, two, a grapple. A blast of cosmic energy that melts the atmosphere. Conquest shrugs it off. They collide mid-air, fists hitting like small supernovas. They trade blows across continents. Mountains fall, oceans evaporate. Conquest is faster, angrier, more savage. But Thanos is smarter, stronger, and more prepared. He shifts his stance, traps Conquest's arm, shatters his elbow, drives a knee into his ribs, follows with an energy burst to the face, a knee to the throat, then silence. Thanos raises one hand, glowing with pure energy, a pulse, not from tech, but from him. The energy of dying stars compressed into a single beam. It hits Conquest point blank. The Viltrumite screams, muscles tearing, armor incinerated. Then he drops, burning alive, shaking. Still alive, but only barely. Thanos kneels beside him. He makes sure his opponent is down. Then he turns and walks away. No gloating, no fear, just the quiet certainty of a god who's already seen the outcome. Conquest is destruction, but Thanos is destiny, and destiny always wins.
I am inevitable.
The Invincible universe is vast, dangerous, and wildly unpredictable. From the Viltrum Empire to galactic threats like Battle Beast, it has incredibly strong characters. But what happens if the Invincible universe was faced with a Saiyan invasion? Today, I'll be answering that question and an even more important one hiding within it. First things first, before we begin the Saiyan invasion, we need to know who the Saiyans are. The Saiyans are a warlike alien race known for their combat instincts, brutal nature, and incredible potential for growth through battle.
The Saiyans lived in primitive fashion. They were much larger in size. Another was their brutal and violent nature. They loved to fight.
Originally, the Saiyans come from a planet called Sadala, but it was destroyed due to infighting and they migrated to planet Plant. This new place was already inhabited by another species called Tuffles. These creatures were evolved, had advanced technology, and lived in organized cities. That didn't last long though. The Saiyans eventually waged war and they successfully conquered the planet to make it their own. They named it Planet Vegeta after their king. So, the Saiyans do have a history of invasion. As the sole inhabitants of the land, the Saiyans served under King Cold and the Planet Trade Organization. But the entire planet changed when the reins were passed onto their heir, Frieza. The new ruler quickly noted that the Saiyans loved fighting and that they were incredibly strong. This was perfect for Frieza because his dream was to rule the entire universe. So the planet was transformed into a military base and the Saiyans were on a path to become exactly like the Viltrum Empire.
It's been a long time, King Vegeta. It's an honor to have you here, great King Cold.
But their story goes very differently. Because the power level of the Saiyans was constantly growing, it was hard for Frieza to keep them under his thumb. Eventually, an uprising was bound to happen. So before it did, Frieza destroyed the planet along with its inhabitants. And the Saiyans race was successfully wiped out. Luckily, a few of the Saiyans survived.
Kakarot, it's up to you. You must avenge the Saiyans and Planet Vegeta.
They were all away from planet Vegeta for one reason or another, and were unscathed. Now that we know about the Saiyan race as a whole, let's talk about their survivors. Broly, Goku, Vegeta, and Tarbell. Though Nappa and Raditz are also survivors, they do get killed later in the show, so we'll be excluding them today. We also won't keep Tarbell in the lineup as he's nowhere close to the others in terms of strength. The ones we are including are incredibly powerful and bring value to the invasion team. Starting off with the protagonist of the Dragon Ball series, let's discuss Goku. Goku was sent to Earth as a baby. His mission was to destroy the planet from within, but because of a serious head injury, he lost his memories and grew up a carefree child. He was found and raised by Grandpa Gohan, who loved and cared for Goku as his own. Unaware of his lineage and mission, Goku grew up pure-hearted and kind. Not only that, but he was also a prodigy. He mastered martial arts, how to fly, and even his signature move, Kamehameha, as a kid. But this blissful life came to an end when Goku's brother Raditz came to Earth. He told Goku about his genealogy and his mission. Together, they had to prepare Earth for sail. Goku strongly opposed this and fought Raditz. Though he ends up losing that battle, Goku goes on to become one of the strongest Saiyans. In fact, he's the first one in 1,000 years to transform into the fabled Super Saiyan.
I won't let you get away with this!
His super strength, speed, durability, and combat skills make him one to watch out for. Eventually, he even develops other Super Saiyan transformations. But the thing that makes Goku extremely deadly is his Ultra Instinct. It's not a transformation, but a state of being. In this form, he fights without thinking. His movements become flawless and fluid without draining any energy. This allows him to neutralize enemies before they even attack. It gives him godlike speed, precision, and defense. Very much like Goku, the next member of the invasion team is a child prodigy. His name is Vegeta. Born as a prince, he was able to show tremendous power even by the standards of first-class warriors. He's a tactical fighter. His technique is self-taught, deadly, and better than his father's, who was previously the strongest Saiyan ever. Vegeta is brutal and intelligent. His goal is to become the strongest fighter in the universe and avenge his people's destruction. He is prideful and egotistical, but he does back it up when it matters with his power and skill. One of his attacks, called Gallic Gun, is comparable to Goku's Kamehameha. Another attack Vegeta uses is Final Flash, an extremely strong finishing move.
Let's go! Final Flash!
Similar to Goku, he also has multiple Super Saiyan transformations, but his alter ego is his deadliest form. In this state, Vegeta becomes a god of destruction. His aggression is channeled and his attacks become lethal. Most importantly, the more he takes damage, the stronger he gets. He basically becomes invincible, not in name, but in actuality. Next, we have another child prodigy, but one that suffered because of it. We're discussing Broly. With unparalleled power since birth, Broly was a threat to those around him, even at an early age. His power oozed out of him. It was so immense and it made him cry constantly. This heavily annoyed young Prince Vegeta and created a rivalry in his head. But eventually, King Vegeta deemed Broly as too dangerous and exiled him to a remote planet called Vampa. He was left there to die, but against the odds, he survived. This led him to be one of the fiercest and most vengeful warriors. His motivations are largely based on his trauma and the betrayal he faced from his people. His powers are mostly tied to his legendary Super Saiyan transformation. This grants him abilities that surpass the regular Saiyan forms and are unique to him. Legendary Super Saiyan grants Broly an almost limitless power increase. His strength grows as the battle progresses and also as he gets angrier. His attack, called Eraser Cannon, can literally erase anything in its path.
I noticed that you love to look up in the sky at your silly old planet. But it's just a dream!
If you stand in the way, you'll be reduced to dust. On top of this overpowered transformation, Broly is physically strong. His raw strength exceeds any normal Saiyans, and his high durability allows him to withstand hard-hitting blows. He's an extremely dangerous opponent. Now that we know about the invasion team, let's insert them into the world of Invincible. There are two scenarios on how this will play out. The first is where one single Saiyan tries to carry out the invasion, and the second is where all three of them attack at once. We're going to be discussing both. For the first scenario, the Saiyan attacking Earth will be none other than Vegeta. It makes the most sense. His personality and his skill level make him a suitable fit for this job. Plus, he's tried this before.
Strength is the only thing that matters in this world. Everything else is just a delusion for the weak.
Him and Nappa came to Earth to invade it and fought Goku in the process. So what would happen if Vegeta invades the Invincible world solo? Vegeta would make a thunderous entrance and land on Earth. Let's assume this happens a month after the events of Invincible Season 3. At this point in the show, the Invincible War has happened, the planet is in ruins, and Mark has barely defeated Conquest. The GDA sensors would already have detected Vegeta coming towards Earth, and because of that, the superhero forces are gathered to receive him. The fight begins. Invincible would punch hard, Adam Eve would materialize weapons, and the Guardians would work together to land hits. But Vegeta would be unfazed. He can dodge these attacks easily, and furthermore, even if they land, he can still withstand them. He can take on Invincible, the Guardians, and Eve easily. But what if Omni-Man and Alan arrive from space at that moment? Well, this would certainly increase the chances of a win for the Invincible crew. Omni-Man would be able to land some powerful punches, along with Alan, who would get some hits in as well. But Vegeta is a seasoned fighter, and a fast one at that. After dodging or withstanding their attacks, he could use Gallic Gun and seriously injure his opponents.
I'm putting all of our hope into this one blast! Gallic, go!
On top of that, he could use his final flash to end lives. This attack can incinerate the surroundings and kill anyone in his path. But let's say the Invincible crew dodges, or that Mark and Omni-Man are able to withstand these hits. Lucky for them, the Viltrum Empire descends from the sky at this moment and also joins the fight. Now, it's an ambush situation. It's everyone against Vegeta. Thrag, Omni-Man, Invincible, and the other top Viltrumites would lead the fight. The others would assist and create opportunities to land blows. Vegeta is a master at combat, but even he would get overwhelmed fighting with seasoned conquerors like Thrag and Omni-Man. The sheer amount of attacks and the number of people charging towards him could create a situation where Vegeta becomes incapacitated and the Invincible crew wins the fight. But we're forgetting one major factor here. Vegeta hasn't used his ultimate ability, and even without that, it takes an army of Viltrumites, aliens, and superheroes to overwhelm him. So imagine if he used one of his stronger transformations, or even Ultra Ego. This would tip the scales heavily in his favor. With Ultra Ego, Vegeta becomes a god of destruction. His strength, speed, and attack damage would allow him to massacre the group. Furthermore, his power levels rise in this state with his anger and with the amount of hits he gets. This immeasurable power would allow Vegeta to not only single-handedly bring an end to the Viltrumite race, but erase Earth out of existence. He alone could complete this invasion if he wanted to. Now, that seems extremely dull for the Invincible crew, right? Well, it's about to get even worse. We're moving on to the second scenario where all three Saiyans invade at once. This would be an extremely unfair battle. Vegeta alone was difficult for the Invincible crew, and now we're adding Goku and Broly into this fight. Same as before, let's assume this happens with Invincible, the Guardians, Eve, Omni-Man, Alan, and the Viltrum Empire present. Let's also throw Battle Beast into the mix. The invasion team operates at a multi-universal level.
Will there be opponents worthy of my strength? Viltrumites? How many?
Goku and Vegeta have shattered dimensions, dodged lightspeed attacks, and fought beings that have warped space and time. Similarly, Broly went toe-to-toe with Gogeta, causing rifts in reality during their fight. While Invincible, Omni-Man, and the Viltrum Empire are very powerful in their own universe, they are at maximum planetary threats here. The battles they've fought and the feats they've achieved are nowhere near what the Saiyans have done. They cannot compete with the strength of the Dragon Ball characters. Speed is another key factor to this battle.
It will take more than head games to stop me. You may have invaded my mind and my body.
Goku with his Ultra Instinct and Vegeta with his Ultra Ego can move faster than light even in their base forms. This means they can essentially dodge any attacks that come toward them and manage to hit back twice as hard. The fastest ones in the Invincible universe are the Viltrumites, and even they can only move at hypersonic speeds, which is incredibly fast, but it is no match for the Saiyans. What the Invincible crew lacks in speed and strength, they slightly make up for in experience. The Viltrumites have brought hundreds of planets to their knees. Thrag and Omni-Man have wiped out civilizations all on their own. They're literally stacked with battle experience. On top of that, the Viltrum Empire has coordination, which can be used to plan an ambush on the Saiyans. While Goku, Vegeta, and Broly have fought extremely powerful beings, it's not in a group. They're solo fighters, and they've amassed countless wins on their own. But even though they're not coordinated or haven't fought entire civilizations, they would still overpower the Invincible crew. Moving on to perhaps the most important factor in this battle, durability. All the others are nothing without it. This matchup consists of characters that can deliver deathly blows and attacks. If you're not able to withstand them or at least dodge them, you're gonna be dead.
Your stubbornness against the inevitable killed those people. How many more need to die, Mark? It's up to you.
The Viltrumites, Invincible, Battle Beast, and Alan can survive extreme trauma and pain, but they still can be killed with enough brute force. We've seen Omni-Man kill other Viltrumites with only his hands. The Saiyans, on the other hand, are not only durable, but they can regenerate their energy mid-fight. They can withstand planet-crushing attacks and fight for hours even if they're heavily injured. On top of that, Vegeta's abilities allow him to literally get stronger the more he is hurt, and Broly can increase his strength to an immeasurable potential during battle. Goku, if he uses Ultra Instinct, will conserve energy and stamina throughout the fight. Durability-wise, it's clear the Saiyans have an upper hand. But that's not all. The strongest contenders in the Invincible universe are all ones that do close combat. Thrag, Conquest, Omni-Man, Battle Beast, and others all deal close-ranged attacks, but the Saiyans have close-ranged as well as far-ranged hits. They have a variety of deadly far-ranged attacks that can massacre hundreds in moments. Goku's Kamehameha, Vegeta's Final Flash, and Broly's Explosion Aura are a few examples. On top of that, they are combat pros. They've mastered martial arts and know how to handle close combat. Whatever way you look at it, the Invincible crew does not stand a chance here. The Saiyans are simply stronger, faster, and more durable than them. The Invincible crew is lucky that they're here to invade and not destroy, because if that was the case, the Earth would be gone in minutes. Nothing would be left of the planet, and nothing would be left for the Viltrumites to conquer. In fact, if the Saiyans continue their invasions in that world, they'd be like Viltrumites on crack. So much more powerful and so much more brutal. They would be able to bring down so many more planets and massacre entire races quicker than the Viltrum Empire ever did. So there you have it. The Saiyans versus the Invincible universe. The power gap is astronomical and victories written in stone for the Saiyans. I thought I understood superhero matchups until I analyzed what would happen if Omni-Man fought Dr. Doom, and what I discovered completely changed everything I believed about preparation versus raw power. So in this video, I'm going to reveal why it isn't even close, show you the one factor that makes victory impossible for one of these fighters, and expose the shocking difference that ends this battle before it even begins. And trust me, what you're about to learn will change how you look at every superhero battle comparison. But before we get into the real meat of this fight, I need to show you why Doom has survived encounters with cosmic tier threats. This reputation didn't come from nowhere. When I started digging deeper, I discovered something truly terrifying about his intellectual capabilities. Considered to be one of the smartest men on the earth, Doom's high-level intellect rivals his sworn nemesis Reed Richards. But here's what makes this even more dangerous. While Reed Richards uses his intellect for heroic purposes, Doom applies the same level of genius with zero moral restraints. When he restored the Thing's human form, something even Reed struggled with, it showed precision that goes beyond normal scientific understanding. His track record against cosmic beings reveals something most people miss. He leveraged his scientific prowess to steal or replicate the powers of cosmic beings, such as the Silver Surfer, the Beyonder, and even Galactus's world ship. We're not talking about fighting these entities head-on. We're talking about reverse engineering universal level of power sources through pure intellectual superiority. But there's something else that sets Doom apart from every other genius villain. His approach to problem solving doesn't rely on a single methodology. Where other scientists might focus purely on technology or purely on theory, Doom integrates multiple disciplines simultaneously to create solutions that shouldn't be impossible. Moving on to something that could completely change the rules of this engagement. It's an advantage that most people completely overlook when analyzing Doom's capabilities. As the leader of a sovereign nation, Dr. Doom often visits the United States or the United Nations for political reasons and enjoys diplomatic immunity. This isn't just legal protection, it's a strategic weapon. When Captain America himself had to act as one of Doom's bodyguards during a state visit, it revealed how his political status transcends typical villain classifications.
You seem a little tense, Nick.
I don't like this assignment, and neither should you.
For once I agree with Fury.
And for once I agree with Hawkeye.
You might be playing the part of the Latverian dignitary right now, but you've never needed a bodyguard in your life. Why are we here?
A very dangerous enemy has placed a price on my head. The Cabal.
If the Avengers are incompetent, why did you ask for us?
I didn't ask for the Avengers, Captain. I asked for you.
Even heroes are bound by international law when dealing with a legitimate head of state. Doom has reshaped Latveria in his own image, renaming both the capital city and castle to Doomstat and Castle Doom respectively. He monitors citizens from Castle Doom and uses Doombots to maintain order, but the crucial detail is that his people genuinely adore him despite his tyrannical reputation. This means any attack on Doom isn't just an assault on any individual. It's an act of war against a sovereign nation with advanced defensive capabilities. There's there's another dimension to Doom's capabilities that could fundamentally alter any confrontation before it even begins. The time platform is one of Doom's many creations, and using it gives him the ability to travel through time. This led to many memorable events, as Doom can't seem to resist creating alternate timelines every time he uses the platform. But here's what really caught my attention about his temporal abilities. The time platform allows Dr. Doom to travel into the past and set up a new reign under different circumstances. Consider the tactical implications. Doom can go back in time, adjust a timeline per his specifications, set up shops as a ruler, and then utilize his new era as a base of operations. Having to beat Doom on his own terms instantly puts any opponent at a tactical disadvantage. This isn't just about preparation time. This is about rewriting history itself to create favorable conditions. When facing an opponent like Omni-Man, Doom could theoretically travel back decades to study Viltrumite weaknesses and develop specific countermeasures. There's something I discovered about Doom that reveals why he's more dangerous after each defeat than most villains are after their victories. When his lust for power led him to sacrifice his long-lost love, Valeria, to demons for magical powers, he gained the equivalent of years of sorcery study instantly. With this power, he trapped Franklin Richards in hell, immobilized Doctor Strange, and neutralized the Fantastic Four. When Reed freed Strange's astral self and they outsmarted Doom, provoking his demonic benefactors to take him to hell, most would consider this a crushing defeat. But here's what makes Doom truly terrifying: his response to failure. Even when Reed took control of Latveria to dismantle his equipment and planned to trap them both in a pocket dimension, Doom found a way to transfer his spirit into Sue, Johnny, and Ben simultaneously. Reed was forced to kill Ben to stop Doom, showing that Doom's defeats become learning experiences that make future encounters more dangerous. Moving beyond technology and politics, there's another aspect of Doom's power set that reveals why he survived encounters that should have destroyed him. Initially trained by Tibetan monks, his magical powers were later enhanced by his lover, Morgan Le Fay. This isn't someone who dabbled in magic. This is someone who received formal mystical education from some of the most powerful beings in existence. After Doctor Strange relinquished the title of Sorcerer Supreme, he acknowledged Doom's potential to assume that role. Doctor Strange, the premier magic user in Marvel, considers Doom qualified for the highest mystical position possible. His magical mastery enables him to cast powerful blasts, create mystical shields, curse others, and summon demons. The magical spells Doom casts grant him additional powers, including energy absorption and projection, technopathy, dimensional travel, and healing, plus he's able to summon hordes of demonic creatures. Magic potentially offers solutions to problems that engineering can't solve, and Doom has access to both toolsets simultaneously. The combination of science and sorcery creates tactical options that pure technology simply cannot match. Where technology might fail against certain attacks, magical defenses can compensate. Where spells might prove insufficient, technological solutions provide backup alternatives. Now, let me show you what I found when I analyzed the other side of this equation. Understanding Viltrumite capabilities goes far beyond individual power levels. The Viltrumite race didn't become galactic conquerors through luck or superior numbers. They developed a systematic approach to universal domination. Viltrumite physiology grants them extraordinary durability, enabling them to endure extreme physical trauma with minimal injury. Their bodies are highly resistant to most forms of damage, including high-impact collisions, ballistic weaponry, bladed attacks, and powerful energy blasts. Whether exposed to the vacuum of space, searing heat, or catastrophic explosions, Viltrumites remain largely unaffected. But what really shocked me about their expansion methods was the biological component. Viltrumite genetics are incredibly potent and adaptive. They can reproduce with a wide range of species, with Viltrumite DNA overwhelmingly asserting itself in offspring. As a result, children typically inherit predominantly Viltrumite traits, and often appearing and functioning almost entirely as Viltrumites. This isn't just conquest, it's genetic assimilation on a universal scale. The more genetically compatible the mate species is, the faster and more reliably the offspring will manifest the full range of standard Viltrumite abilities. When I researched how Viltrumites actually expand their empire, I discovered something that puts their individual capabilities in an organizational context. Their world-conquering committee had 3 broad divisions that reveal the sophistication of their approach. The Scouting Division searched the stars for planets with intelligent life at their tipping point. The Viltrumites were smart because they knew ruling over over entirely backward races had no glory, and fighting highly advanced civilizations might be fatalistic. They chose targets at the precipice of major progress. The Outpost Division set up watchtowers in several star systems they were earmarking for invasion. This allowed them to monitor targets, dissuade other interested parties, and mobilize forces efficiently. The Ground Division comprised either soldiers or scientists depending on a planet's response to their offer. If a target would accept their offer, scientists would advance civilization with Viltrumite technology in exchange for complete loyalty. If their offer was rejected, soldiers would descend and systematically eliminate all resistance until complete submission was achieved. When I researched the upper limits of Viltrumite power, I discovered something that puts Omni-Man's abilities in proper context. Cecil Stedman even stated that Conquest is the strongest Viltrumite they'd encountered, suggesting he could potentially defeat Nolan. This means there are Viltrumites operating at power levels that exceed even Omni-Man's capabilities. In a display of sheer brutality, Conquest used Invincible's body as a weapon, slaughtering civilians on a beach and throughout the city, causing widespread destruction and mass casualties.
I don't want you to miss this!
Enough!
The force of their clashes generated shockwaves, underscoring the staggering level of Conquest's strength. He was even able to break Invincible's leg and hand with a single punch. But what really concerned me was learning that Conquest was so powerful, he leveled part of the city by flying directly into Invincible.
Shit.
He effortlessly shattered Adam Eve's energy constructs and ultimately killed her with a single devastating punch through her stomach. This brings us to something that completely changes the scale of what we're dealing with. When I looked into whether Omni-Man could actually destroy planets, I found something remarkable. It took the combined might of Thetis, Invincible, and Omni-Man to destroy Viltrum with a destabilized core. Viltrum has 1.25 the gravity of Earth, and Thetis said that they actually could have died if they messed up their charge toward the planet. While they can't easily destroy Earth-sized planets alone, Invincible, Omni-Man, or Thrag could destroy a moon or small planet like Mercury. But there's something else I discovered about Omni-Man's combat efficiency that reveals the scope of his capabilities. Once inside the Flaxen home dimension, he used the Flaxen leader's body to destroy multiple buildings, killing the leader in the process before continuing his rampage. This wasn't just strength, it was psychological warfare combined with devastating efficiency. Moving on to something about Doom that reveals why conventional defeat methods don't work against him, the alien ovoids inadvertently taught Doom how to psionically transfer his consciousness into another being through eye contact. He rarely employs this ability due to his ego about his appearance, but when he does use this power, the implications become terrifying. If his concentration breaks, the transfer can revert, but during the possession, he has complete control over his target's actions. This means even a physical victory against Doom might not eliminate the threat if he manages eye contact during the encounter. The psychological impact alone becomes a weapon. Opponents must avoid not only his technological and magical attacks, but also direct eye contact. This limitation restricts their tactical options and creates openings for his other abilities. Against a straightforward fighter like Omni-Man, this mental discipline requirement could prove decisive. After analyzing everything, I realized that this fight has dimensions that go way beyond just power levels and tactical capabilities. When Omni-Man faced his son Invincible, he utterly dominated the encounter. He tossed Mark around with ease, punching him across continents. At one point, he even used his body to slice an oncoming train in half, resulting in mass destruction and casualties. His overwhelming strength was further demonstrated when he launched Invincible to Mount Everest, causing an avalanche, and then slammed him into the ground, creating a massive crater. Nolan nearly beat Mark to death before ultimately choosing to stop. The psychological impact of this level of dominance becomes a weapon in itself. But Doom brings his own intimidation factors. Doombots present a tactical advantage with his mind replicated so far as they recognize themselves to be the real Dr. Doom. Except when in proximity to the real Doom, the Doombots can cast a wide net of attack, appearing in multiple locations at the same time. When I started looking at actual combat scenarios, I found something that reveals a crucial factor most people overlook. In space, Viltrumites are capable of faster than light travel, crossing vast interstellar distances in a matter of weeks without the aid of technology. This isn't technology assisted. This is purely biological capability. Their reflexes, agility, and reaction times are equally heightened, enabling them to outmaneuver most opponents in combat. Some individuals, such as Anissa, have demonstrated superior speed even among Viltrumites, easily outpacing others like Nolan and showcasing just how varied their abilities can be within the species. However, as a Viltrumite, Omni-Man's ability of flight is aided by very delicate equilibrium in his inner ear, which can be disrupted by a specific frequency. This puts any Viltrumite in crippling pain and prevents them from flying. It can even kill them if the frequency is played intensely for a long time. When I analyzed how interstellar capable beings conduct warfare, I discovered something alarming for Earth-based defenders. While still needing air, Omni-Man can endure weeks holding his breath and likewise can survive the vacuum of space unprotected, allowing for unaided interstellar travel. The battlefield can be anywhere in the solar system. Doom's technology accounts for space operations through his armor's life support systems, but his tactical framework assumes certain limitations that Viltrumites simply don't have. All of Latveria's defensive systems, prepared environments, and technological advantages become theoretical when your opponent can relocate the fight to Jupiter's orbit within minutes. The scale differential creates problems that even Doom's level of engineering hasn't been designed to solve specifically. Most of his preparation strategies assume confrontations occur within range of his support systems and backup resources. This brings us to something fascinating about both fighters' approaches and why certain factors become absolutely crucial. Dr. Doom can go back in time, adjust a timeline per his specifications, set up shop as a ruler, and then utilize his new era as a base of operations. Having to beat Doom on his own terms instantly puts any opponent at a tactical disadvantage. But I discovered something troubling when I examined deployment timeframes. Doom often uses Doombots, his robot doubles, to retroactively explain his actions or erase events from his history. His success often involves extensive preparation, contingency planning, and multiple phases of execution. Dr. Doom's most dangerous weapon is his genius-level intellect. Intelligence becomes devastating when it has time to analyze, plan, and implement solutions. But this expertise has specific requirements that may not always be available in every encounter scenario. The matchup ultimately comes down to something that determines every aspect of the encounter, but I can't reveal what happens without showing you one more crucial factor. There are elements about both fighters that most analysts completely miss. Nolan possesses an incredible healing factor, allowing his body to recover from injuries in mere minutes, or at most within a few days depending on the level of harm, with no lingering side effects. We're not just talking about taking hits, we're talking about rapid recovery from massive trauma that would permanently disable most beings. But there's something else about how these two approaches to power actually interact when they meet, something that changes everything about this analysis in ways that most people would never expect. The truth about who would emerge victorious depends on variables that go way beyond what we've discussed here. The answer isn't what most people think it would be. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to see why Omni-Man vs. Gambit Jack is not close, click it now. Everyone thinks that Thrag vs. Superman would be an epic battle between two of the most powerful beings in their universes, but it's not even close. And I'm gonna break down every reason why this fight is over before the loser even knows what hit him, starting with their backgrounds, because where these powerhouses come from shapes everything. Let's talk about the Krypton legend first. What exactly are Superman's powers? We know the man flies around saving lives, but what exactly makes him a formidable opponent in combat?
He has the power to wipe out the entire human race, and if we believe there's even a 1% chance that he is our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute certainty. But he is not our enemy. Not today.
Well, for starters, Superman obviously has the power of flight. He's able to travel from place to place within insanely short periods of time and react quickly to all threats, arriving at the scene of a crime in a matter of seconds, giving villains little time to react. Superman's powers of flight open up a whole new world of combat strategy. Think about the possibilities. The ability to fly makes Superman essentially a human fighter plane, or if needed, a stealthy reconnaissance drone. And if that wasn't enough, on top of his prowess for aerial maneuver, Superman's other other powers include superhuman strength, the ability to change and modify his bodily appearance, X-ray vision, superhuman healing, and hypnosis. Think back to the way Bruce Lee would beat up people in movies back in the day. That's exactly the scene that usually unfolds when villains try to test the limits of Superman's mercy. His ridiculously high strength not only means that a single punch of his would be enough to put the average man in a coma, it also makes him a ridiculously hardy individual, with a tolerance for pain that exceeds the average man by miles.
My parents taught me to hone my senses on focus on just what I wanted to see, and it hurts. Doesn't.
I mean, try tickling him with a nuke and he probably would come out unharmed with a smile on his face. I mean, this is the guy whose blood quite literally has magical properties and is able to heal those who are fortunate enough to somehow obtain even a small dosage of it. This is the guy that can literally see through walls with his bare eyes, leaving enemies with nowhere to hide. Let's just put it this way. If you think a man like Conor McGregor is scary, well, he is. But compared to Superman, he's a cockroach trying to intimidate a snow leopard. Superman would wipe the floor with the world's most decorated fighters and scoff in the face of knives and guns. It's in his name, and more often than not, those who dare to go against him end up in extremely undesirable circumstances.
We had Luther on this show many times. Little did we know he was a traitor.
Sounds unstoppable, right? But here's the thing about god tier power levels. When your opponent has them too, those advantages vanish. Keep that in mind. I think we all know about Superman's physical prowess, his competence at unarmed combat, but an aspect of Superman that's often overlooked is the insanity of his mental powers. While his body might be worthy of CIA experimentation, equally worthy of Marvel is the damn near psychic abilities that are contained in the brain of his, I mean, we all know he can shoot laser beams from his eyes, but how many of you thought twice about his eerie ability to hypnotize others? We're not talking basic hypnosis.
What do you know about the hypnoglasses? They make his face look different in your brain when he wears them so that you know who he is.
Like those clips where magicians are able to put people asleep. We're talking insane levels of hypnosis, like being able to erase the memory of an incident completely from the minds of people, or being able to make villains obey his commands and do his bidding as they lose control over their own bodies. I mean, come on, this is completely absurd. You're telling me this is the man you want to fight? He's also able to disorientate and confuse enemies by projecting his voice across extremely long distances. A villain could hear his voice beckoning as if he was right behind him, but in actuality, Superman's miles away.
Crypto. Take me home.
Through this ability, villains end up confused, disorientated, and feeling as if they themselves have gone crazy. It is within this state of utter confusion that Superman is able to strike, defeating the enemy through the perfect union of the powers of his body and mind. Now, with all these insane powers, you'd think Superman has this fight locked down, but there's something about his character that completely flips the script, and it's not what you think. It's worth mentioning that although Superman in the original Siegel and Shuster stories was portrayed as a rough and weathered gangster, the Superman we all know and love today is far from who he was back in those early comic days. He's since become far more polished, far less gritty, and far more of a dreamer. I mean, just think about his role in society and the absolute love with which he plays his role. Superman has, to the extent of our knowledge, never received any personal or financial reward for his acts. He even conceals his identity as Clark Kent and expresses great worry on the occasions when someone finds out his true identity. Superman isn't saving lives for a check or for a fame that he will never receive. Superman today represents the archetype of he who gives billions without asking for a penny in return.
What's the S stand for?
It's not an S. On my world, it means hope.
Well, here it's an S. How about
Sir?
He's the human embodiment of altruism, risking his life, putting everything he has up for sacrifice for people he'll never meet again. He's a protector of the innocent, a friend to all humans, and this gray symbol of a compassion that runs selflessly, whereby his love for all others far outweighs his concern for his own safety. No doubt, if it ever came to that and it was really necessary, without even blinking an eye, Superman would give up his life to save a stranger. There's a reason why he's often being used to describe the ideal man. His beauty lies not only in his likability, but his willingness to defy our notions of cost and benefit and give it all up for nothing in return.
Without Superman, can there be a Justice League?
How many battles did we win simply because he was there?
I used to be able to goof around so much because I knew Superman had my back.
He represents, to so many, a dreamer so idealistic that instead of using his powers for personal gain, like the majority of people would have done, he chose to use them to pursue his vision of a kinder world, even when it seems like a losing battle. This is a man who, after he first took the life of a supervillain, felt so regretful that he took a strict vow to, from then on, never take the life of another, no matter how tough it got. He's the human embodiment of mercy, of seeing the good in the most evil, twisted, and corrupted of souls, and of absolute love for a species abiding on a planet that considers him alien. This world's been tough to Superman. He lost his planet, his parents, every single of his kind are not extinct. Such optimism in the face of adversity, this kindness and selfishness, that's exactly what, to generations of teenagers, Superman has represented and continues to represent.
The symbol of the House of El means hope. Embodied within that hope is the fundamental belief in the potential of every person to be a force for good.
Remember this idealism, because when we get to why Thrag might actually win, this compassion becomes his Achilles heel. But first, let's talk about the dictator himself. Thrag. I've earned my command. I deserve to lead. I'm what our people need. I don't care what is decreed. You have earned nothing. All you deserve is death. Those were the very words spoken by supervillain Thrag to his nemesis Omni-Man as Thrag attempted to put Omni-Man's life to a premature close, ending him once and for all in defense of Thrag's authoritarian dictatorship over the Viltrumite population. In my view, and this sentiment is probably shared by many fellow fans, with regards to who is the greatest supervillain of all time, Dr. Doom would take the title, with Thrag being a close second. I mean, need we even speak about Thrag and his ruthlessness? The steely iron with which he ruled over the Viltrumites, stopping at no ends to fulfill his visions, crushing and putting to death all those who dare to disobey?
In order for our people to reach their full potential, we had to remove the weak, but what emerged was unstoppable.
Thrag, in many ways, could be seen as the comic book equivalent of an authoritarian dictator, one who believed with irreprehensible conviction in their own competence and vision, one who ruled rather than lead, and cared not at whose expense his plans would succeed. Thrag, in many ways, is comparable to a Viltrumite Gaddafi, giving his subjects only two choices, loyalty or death. Thrag was and is one of the most legendary antagonists the comic book world has and probably will ever see. As the leader of the Viltrumite Empire, Thrag's rule was characterized by a military-like utility, where every notion of ethics and morality were thrown out the window in favor of his pursuits and bloodthirsty conquests. When Thrag was a youngster, he slaughtered, as a practically invincible fighter on one side of the Civil War, thousands of weaker Viltrumites, believing the weak to be unworthy of life. Thrag punished countless dissidents with death, and the victims of his brutal rule include his very own son.
You abandon your mission to subjugate Earth. Desertion! Unapproved breeding with an inferior species.
And what's worse than a dictator? A dictator who is literally the strongest Viltrumite in all of recorded history. One who is practically invincible and lives life as if it were a game he has all the cheat codes to. Thrag, just like Superman, has extraordinary powers and would turn the average man to toast in a matter of seconds in armed or unarmed combat. Thrag's powers include decelerated aging, whereby Thrag's lifespan runs ridiculously long, with his powers and physical condition deteriorating at a ridiculously low rate. In fact, as time goes on, it seems that instead of degeneration, Thrag seems to grow in strength and power, becoming more and more lethal to any opponent standing in his way. Because of this, Thrag can play the long game. After all, his decelerated aging, paired with his vindictive nature, completely eliminates any chance for an enemy to try his hand at the waiting game. To Thrag, decades of waiting would pass in the blink of an eye, within which he would have grown infinitely stronger and more experienced. As the saying goes, you can run, but you can't hide, and Thrag certainly is not a man that can be triumphed by time. In addition, Thrag, like Superman, is able to fly.
Earth's gravity is weaker, yet its atmosphere is more nourishing. You've grown stronger here than I ever could have imagined. The only way to know how strong is to keep testing your limits.
One aspect of this flight that is unique to Thrag is his ability not just to fly as means of transport, but to levitate above the air in a controlled manner. In the strange world of superheroes, many are able to soar through the air at lightning speed, but not many are able to nimbly levitate a meter or two above the ground, or hover slightly in an act aimed to disorient the enemy.
We can freely move ourselves through physical space. That's how we fly. So we don't have to pivot on our feet and push off the ground. We can literally push off anything. We can create our own leverage.
Thrag has insane control over his flight powers, whereby a transition from flight to sprint can be easily carried out in a fraction of a second. Thrag also has superhuman strength, superhuman speed, insanely sharp senses, an ability to heal himself in the unlikely event that he is wounded, and even power to not just survive, but thrive for extended periods of time in environments absent of oxygen. In short, Thrag's powers are insane, and are the reason he was able to rise to the top of the ranks, ruling with an iron fist over the Viltrumite population. So, we've got a ruthless dictator versus a Boy Scout. Already, you can see the mismatch in mindset. But does Thrag's brutality actually translate to combat advantage? Let's look at his powers and find out. And this is where most people get this matchup completely wrong. In some areas, clearly, Superman has an advantage over Thrag. I know that just seconds ago, I was talking about how ridiculously overpowered Thrag is, but no good villain is without his or her weakness. It's what makes stories interesting. And one of the major gaps in Thrag's proverbial armor is the fact that he's a Viltrumite. This alien species, however powerful, still have biological limitations, one of them being their ears. Yeah, you heard me right. The Viltrumite biology is such that they have extremely sensitive ears. This is what allows Thrag and other Viltrumites to fly at ridiculously high speeds. Ironically though, the extreme sensitivity of their ears can also be used against them. Sound at specific frequencies can be used as an excruciating and even lethal weapon against Viltrumites. With the right technology, or a few tech-savvy friends, Superman could beat Thrag without even landing a single blow by developing a machine that could cause Thrag's eardrums to reverberate with unbearable pain. Even more advantageous to Superman is the fact that Viltrumites are even vulnerable to paralysis if exposed to sound of specific frequencies. Now, as the strongest of all Viltrumites, Thrag obviously is different from other Viltrumites, so it's worth noting that we are unsure of the extent to which these frequencies actually have an impact on him.
Remember that giant lobster you tangled with in Atlantis? Turns out we can transmit it to your earpiece, the one we implanted when you were in our hospital, the one too deep to reach.
But we know for a fact, referencing past events, that these frequencies do have a significant impact on other Viltrumites of great power and competence. So it's hard to believe that Thrag would be able to remain totally unaffected by something which would render the powers of any other Viltrumite being. Perhaps to Thrag, these frequencies would be more so hindrances, impairing him from performing at optimal capacity and hindering only some of his powers. Nevertheless, in this aspect, Superman has a clear advantage over Thrag. The same sounds that have the potential to crush the battle-hardened Viltrumites have no negative impact on Superman himself, so if it were possible for Superman to get his hands somehow on a device that produced such frequencies, Thrag and his gang of Viltrumites would have their abilities significantly impaired.
Bruce, please, I was wrong. You have to listen to me. You don't understand. There's no time. I understand.
Ironically, one of Superman's greatest chances of beating Thrag might be in a magical plant. I'm serious. Thrag, despite having reached damn near demigod status, might be able to be beaten by a well-thought-out combination of Superman's powers and weapons infused with a plant known as the Klaxis plant. The Klaxis plant is a plant that we know is poisonous to Viltrumites, and Thrag is no exception. The Klaxis plant just might be one of the Viltrumites' few weaknesses. It, by some unknown force of nature, is able to eat away at the powers of Viltrumites should a Viltrumite have the ill fortune of being exposed to contact with the plant. A Viltrumite like Thrag might be mighty, if Superman is somehow able to get his hands on a large quantity of the plant and infuse weapons with the plant's essence, he might be able to weaken Thrag to the point where he's able to beat Thrag in hand-to-hand combat.
Element Man has been called into service for a specific purpose. He can metamorphose into any known substance, even substances foreign to this planet.
We know from experience that the Viltrumites themselves seriously fear the Klaxis plant. I mean, they took the effort to infest the plant on which Klaxis plants grow in the hopes of exterminating this dangerous species of vegetation. And it was none other than Omni-Man himself who actually gifted extracts of the plant to the coalition of planets to be used against the Viltrumites. We know this plant works, and we already know that Superman has powers far greater than the average man, or even the average Viltrumite. Whether or not those skills on their own are sufficient to overpower Thrag is contentious, but with the help of a little resourcefulness with a little cunning wit sprinkled in, Superman just might be able to turn the tables and defeat Thrag, upsetting his undefeated record. The best part, Superman would be able to maintain his solemn vow not to take the life of another. Through the usage of such biological means, excruciating pain would be able to be induced on Thrag, but none of these two methods would, in all likelihood, have a severe enough effect on Thrag to kill him. No matter how strong or powerful Thrag may be, Superman just needs to remember one thing: he's a mortal just like anyone else, and it takes but a single candle to set the mighty fortress ablaze.
I'm as human as anyone. I love, I get scared, I screw up all the time, but that is being human, and that's my greatest strength.
Okay, so now that we've established Superman's clear advantage over Thrag, the answer to who would win a fight between the two of them is obvious, isn't it? Superman would crush Thrag, handing Thrag the first loss of his career, ending his supervillain career in humiliating fashion. Or would he? See, I've mentioned that in some aspects Superman has a clear advantage over Thrag, but get this, in other aspects, Thrag is clearly superior to Superman, likewise giving Thrag an advantage over Superman. So let's not make our verdict so quickly and give our favorite supervillain Thrag a chance to plead his case. You never know, he just might have a fighting chance against Superman and pull off the greatest comeback in history. Remember earlier in the video when I mentioned that Superman is an idealist? I said that Superman was compassionate, kind, and benevolent. He represents hope, courage, and most importantly, a selfless desire to protect the lives of all in pursuit of a better, safer world. Remember that? Well, what if I told you that this isn't a strength? See, when facing a supervillain of Thrag's status, Superman's idealism actually makes him susceptible to getting carried with unrealistic ideals, ignoring what is and isn't pragmatic. Superman may have dreams of a better world, but does he truly have the means to execute his vision? And is he willing to compromise his ideals for what realistically will give him an edge over Thrag?
Did it hurt you?
You know, they can't. I wanted to hit that kid. I wanted to hit him so bad.
I know you did. And you just have to decide what kind of man you want to grow up to be, Clark.
I don't think so. Superman, in classic Superman fashion, gets in the way of his full potential as a superhero because of his unrealistic ideals. I mean, the man has literally vowed not to take the life of another. How on earth is he going to deal with Thrag then? It's unlikely that Superman would be able to ever land a final defeat over Thrag without killing him. Sure, he might win him in a fight, but Thrag could just get up and try again another day. And unlike Superman, Thrag would finish the job by whatever means necessary, ending our favorite superhero without a moment's hesitation. This unwillingness to kill Thrag really is a major weakness for Superman. Thrag essentially is able to continuously make attempts to kill Superman. If he succeeds in doing so even once, well, Superman can bid this beautiful world sayonara. Superman's also a sentimental dude. He loves his friends and family a little too much, making him vulnerable to being manipulated by Thrag emotionally. I mean, when Thrag starts making threats against Superman's family and friends, Superman is bound to have his judgment clouded. His tremendous affection for family and friends truly makes him susceptible to manipulation.
Where has he hit me? Where is the coda? You think you can threaten my mother?
Apart from that, there's another thing that's a total game changer and just might give Thrag the victory he's looking for. It's his dictator-like ruthlessness, his authoritarian efficiency, his lack of any ethical considerations. The man kills without even thinking twice and previously crushed all dissidents among the Viltrumites, ensuring the entire population remained completely loyal to him. A man as heartless as Thrag would blow up cities and burn villages just to get what he wants. Against Superman, Thrag doesn't have the liability of ethical concerns. He'll pounce without thinking twice and bask in the glory of his cruelty. Not to mention that Thrag literally commands the entire Viltrumite population, acting as their supreme leader. With a single word from Thrag's mouth, Superman would find entire armies of Viltrumites charging at him. Each soldier in that army would like nothing more than to die for his beloved leader of the Empire. All dissidents among them would have been executed by Thrag, and the Viltrumites who remain are hence fiercely loyal to Thrag.
Our most trusted officers were each given a planet to weaken by themselves. I was one of those lucky few.
If Superman wants to capture the leader, he'll have to fight off an army, and let me tell you, the Viltrumites are not ones to play around when it comes to warfare. The last thing that gives Thrag a fighting chance against Superman is this. While Superman in all likelihood has far more powers than Thrag, how many of those powers would actually work on a villain of Thrag's caliber is actually dubious. Powers like X-ray vision, the ability to talk over long distances, psychic abilities, or enhanced leaping, all great against weaker villains, but would a war-hardened veteran really be all that affected by such superpowers? I mean, Thrag isn't some small-town superhero. This is literally the strongest Viltrumite in all of recorded history. Against men, no doubt these powers would come in handy, but I doubt they would do much harm to Thrag. Even Superman's strongest powers like superhuman strength, superhuman speed, and the ability to fly are powers shared by Thrag himself, meaning that Superman's possession of these powers may not give him the advantage he's used to against lower-level villains. Thrag can fly just like Superman can, and both Thrag and Superman can punch through walls as if they're Kit Kat bars. Without this advantage, perhaps Thrag does stand a chance at holding his own against Superman. When all is said and all is done, does anyone want to guess who would win? Both have an advantage, but the title of this video was clear that this would not be a close fight, and there would be a clear winner. Among the two, who would it be? Before I reveal the answer, go ahead and type your guess out in the comment section and why you think he would win over the other. After much research and honestly days of thought, I've come to this final conclusion. Thrag would win Superman by a landslide, and it isn't even close. Can Homelander beat the Immortal? These two characters from their respective hero-superhero shows are often compared in versus debates. And while both seem powerful in their own universes, one of them operates on a completely different level. The Immortal from Invincible has feats that scale to godlike threats, while Homelander's dominance is over much weaker opponents. It begs the question, would Homelander stand a chance against the Immortal in a real fight? That's exactly what we are going to figure out. Starting out with who these characters actually are, because their backgrounds tell us a lot about what they can do. The Immortal is an ancient superhero in Invincible who has lived for millennia. He's led teams like the Guardians of the Globe, with a backstory including historical figures like Abraham Lincoln. The show reveals he's been a Celtic fighter, a medieval knight, and even Abraham Lincoln before his assassination. As the leader of the Guardians of the Globe, his backstory emphasizes enduring resilience and a commitment to protection shaped by repeated deaths and revivals that fuel his unyielding sense of duty. His experience spans centuries of combat. He's fought in countless wars, coordinated teams against planetary invasions, and faced threats that would level cities. That kind of experience creates tactical depth you can't teach. The Immortal knows how to fight smarter, not just harder. Every time he's been killed, he's been resurrected, coming back with the same memories, the same skills, and the same determination.
Why? Where is Omni-Man? Where is he?
Homelander from The Boys is completely different. He's a lab-created soup designed as a patriotic symbol by Vought International, raised in isolation with psychological issues stemming from experiments. His origins highlight isolation, abuse, and psychological instability, turning him into a narcissist tyrant who craves adoration while hiding vulnerabilities. Where the Immortal has millennia of real combat experience against legitimate threats, Homelander has dominated weaker opponents his entire life. He's never faced a true peer. His lack of true peers fosters arrogance, leading to losses when challenged. He fled from Soldier Boy when things got tough. That's not the mindset of someone ready for a real war. Let's break down what each of them can actually do, because the gap becomes obvious pretty quickly. The Immortal possesses immortality, super strength, flight, and regeneration, allowing him to survive decapitation and fight on par with Viltrumites briefly. His abilities include superhuman strength that injures Omni-Man and draws blood in Season 1, flight for maneuvering and aerial combat against Viltrumites, immortality surviving decapitation multiple times across seasons, regeneration healing from impalement and disembowelment in Season 2, nigh invulnerability enduring blows that level cities, super speed reacting to Omni-Man's attacks, and stamina fighting extended battles without fatigue. In Invincible Season 1, the Immortal trades blows with Omni-Man, gouging his eyes and surviving stomach punches before decapitation. That's fighting someone who can destroy entire planets. He only dies because Omni-Man gets the drop on him in a coordinated massacre of the Guardians. Season 2 shows him leading Guardians against threats like the Sequids, enduring impalements, and briefly holding off Omni-Man again. By Season 3, he battles evil Invincible variants, sustaining heavy injuries but persisting through PTSD. Homelander has super strength overpowering Soldier Boy and ripping apart Webweaver in Season 4, flight at supersonic speeds to intercept planes, heat vision bisecting terrorists and melting objects, X-ray vision seeing through walls except zinc, super hearing detecting lies from afar, durability surviving explosions and Temp V enhanced assaults, and stamina never tiring in fights. But here's the problem. Homelander's feats are against non-equals. In The Boys, he destroys a jet mid-flight in Season 1, overpowers multiple soups like Maeve and Butcher in Season 3, and massacres lab scientists in Season 4. But these are against people who aren't in his league. He struggles when matched, as with Soldier Boy's radiation blasts or Maeve's ear stab causing lasting pain. Homelander can hurt normal people easily. The Immortal fights beings that can destroy planets and survives. That's not the same ballpark. This is where the conversation should really end. Omni-Man's feats in Invincible are absolutely absurd compared to anything in the Boys universe. He flies through planets, conquers civilization single-handedly, survives in the vacuum of space indefinitely, and moves at speeds that make him blurry even to other super-powered beings. The Immortal can fight Omni-Man, not win, but fight and survive long enough to be a threat. He gouges out Omni-Man's eyes. He survives stomach punches that create shockwaves destroying buildings. That automatically puts the Immortal above Homelander. What's Homelander's best feat? Lasering a plane? Overpowering Maeve? Fighting Soldier Boy? None of these opponents are even close to Viltrumite level. Omni-Man vastly surpasses Homelander in every category, and the Immortal can hurt Omni-Man. The scaling is clear. Let's talk about what each character can actually survive. The Immortal survives decapitation in Season 1, gets resurrected and comes back at full strength. He endures impalement and disembowelment in Season 2, healing from injuries that puncture completely through his body. He tanks blows from Omni-Man that create shockwaves shattering buildings. His regeneration isn't instant, but it's thorough. Given time, he recovers from almost anything short of complete disintegration. By Season 3, he's fighting evil Invincible variants, alternate universe versions of Mark hitting with planetary level force, and the Immortal sustains heavy injuries but persists. His durability isn't just physical, it's mental. He doesn't break. Homelander survives explosions in Season 1, but these are conventional explosives, not planet-busting attacks. He endures TemV enhanced assaults from Butcher and Soldier Boy in Season 3, and he's clearly hurt by them. Most damning is Maeve's attack. She stabs a metal straw through his ear, and it causes lasting pain. That's not the durability of someone who can hang with Viltrumites. The Boys also shows Homelander bruised by Maeve's punches. When she fights him seriously, her hits leave marks. If her attacks can hurt him, what happens when someone who trades blows with Omni-Man hits him? The Immortal's millennia of combat experience give him strategic depth Homelander can't match. He's fought in every kind of battle imaginable. Sword fights as a Celtic warrior, medieval warfare as a knight, modern combat as a superhero, space battles against alien threats. As the leader of the Guardians of the Globe, he coordinates heroes against planetary invasions. That requires understanding tactics, predicting enemy movements, and making split-second decisions. In Season 2, where he leads the Guardians against the Sequids, these coordinated alien parasites work with hive mind intelligence. The Immortal adapts his tactics mid-battle as the threat evolves. That's generalship. When he fights Omni-Man the second time, he's learned from the first encounter and changes his approach. Homelander has never needed tactics. His entire fighting style is overpower the opponent with superior strength and lasers. That works when you're fighting people weaker than you, but it's not a strategy. When he faces Soldier Boy and Butcher in Season 3, he doesn't have a plan beyond kill them faster. When that doesn't work, he panics. Most telling is when Soldier Boy's radiation blasts hurt him. He retreats. Not a tactical retreat to regroup. He runs because he's not used to feeling pain. Compare that to the Immortal, who has literally died multiple times and keeps coming back. In a fight between them, Homelander would come in arrogant, expecting to dominate. The Immortal would come in prepared, having faced opponents far more dangerous. Let's walk through exactly why this matchup is so one-sided. Strength comparisons favor the Immortal by a huge margin. His clashes with Omni-Man create shockwaves that destroy city blocks. His punches draw blood from a Viltrumite. Homelander's strength feats are overpowering Soldier Boy and ripping apart Webweaver, who's basically a Spider-Man knockoff with no durability feats. When the Immortal punches something, it matters. Homelander's strikes look impressive because his opponents are weak. Speed creates another massive advantage. Yes, Homelander has supersonic flight and can intercept planes, but the Immortal reacts to and dodges Viltrumite strikes. Omni-Man moves at speeds that blur even to superpowered beings, and the Immortal can track those movements. Viltrumites fly through space at FTL speeds. The Immortal has aerial combat experience against these beings. Durability isn't even a contest. The Immortal regenerates from dismemberment, survives decapitation, and recovers from Omni-Man's gore-filled beatdowns. Homelander shows vulnerability to internal damage from Maeve's straw and Soldier Boy's radiation. The Immortal has been torn apart and put back together. Homelander gets his ear stabbed and it's a lasting injury. Experience and mindset create a psychological advantage. The Immortal has faced death multiple times and come back stronger. Homelander has dominated weaker opponents his entire life. When his superiority is questioned, he makes mistakes. The moment Homelander realizes he can't hurt the Immortal, that his heat vision isn't working, that his punches aren't landing with expected effect, his entire mental game collapses. Let's walk through how this fight would actually play out. In a speed battle, the Immortal's reflexes against Viltrumite blitzes would counter Homelander's supersonic flight, potentially ending with a decapitation Homelander couldn't survive. Homelander comes in fast, thinking speed gives him an advantage, but the Immortal has dodged Omni-Man. Homelander's supersonic flight is slow motion by comparison. The Immortal sidesteps, counters with a strike that actually hurts, and suddenly Homelander is on the defensive. A straight brawl sees the Immortal's regeneration outlasting Homelander's heat vision, which failed against durable foes like Maeve. Heat vision requires opponents without high-end durability. Maeve survives it in Season 3, and she's nowhere near as durable as the Immortal. Meanwhile, the Immortal strikes draw blood from Omni-Man. Every punch lands with force, destroying city blocks, and because the Immortal can regenerate and Homelander can't, it becomes a war of attrition. The Immortal wins. Tactically, the Immortal's leadership experience exploits Homelander's rage issues. Homelander loses control when his ego is damaged. The Immortal would bait him into mistakes by challenging his superiority. Once Homelander is fighting emotionally instead of tactically, it's over. Environmental factors favor the Immortal's vacuum survival over Homelander's implied limits. If this fight happens in space, the Immortal has fought Viltrumites in space. Homelander's never been shown surviving in a vacuum for extended periods. periods. Psychologically, the Immortal's resilience breaks Homelander's ego-driven facade. The moment Homelander realizes he can't intimidate someone who's died and come back, who doesn't fear him, who's genuinely more powerful, his worldview shatters. We saw what happened with Soldier Boy. Homelander panicked and fled. The Immortal is exponentially more dangerous, and that's why this isn't close. The Immortal from Invincible significantly outclasses Homelander from the boys in a hypothetical matchup. His feats scaling to threats like Omni-Man make the fight decisively one-sided in his favor. The Immortal's ability to injure Omni-Man, who vastly surpasses Homelander, gives him overwhelming advantages in durability and experience. Homelander's attacks would be ineffective against someone who regenerates from Viltrumite beatdowns. His heat vision fails against durable foes. His strength can't match someone who trades blows with planet conquerors. His speed looks impressive until you realize the Immortal dodges attacks from beings moving at relativistic speeds. The Immortal's superior durability and strength render Homelander's attacks ineffective, though Homelander's speed and heat vision could pose initial challenges without altering the overall outcome. He might land a few hits at the start, but the second the Immortal gets serious, the fight is over. The verdict is clear. The Immortal wins. Not just wins, dominates. This isn't a competitive fight. This is a veteran warrior with millennia of experience putting down a bully who's never faced a real challenge. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click this video now.